What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was abandoned in the dark, but returned as the god of light and chaos? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. 4,000 years ago, a woman with red fiery hair, gowned in a red horned spiky pauldrons and red chest plate with a red battle dress underneath it, was kneeling and panting as she tried to nurse her injuries. Around her were men and women wearing different kinds of armor and weapons about, and skeletons wearing battle gears in their person. Weapons and destruction lay about. The woman was looking at a corpse in front of her. It was a male wearing all purple armor and had strange wings on his back. The strangest thing was the purple eye just below his neck, glaring at her. Her blue eyes glared back at the eye. "Gravelin, is it over?" A man's voice was heard just beside her a few feet away. The man was lying on his back. His once well-kept brown hair was now messy, unkempt, and drenched in blood, his blood. His once shining armor that brought hope to many was now dull as he felt his life slipping away. Gravelin tried not to look at his prone form. She could not believe that she, the evil empress of the Shadow Side, could not look at the dying body of one Artix von Krieger. She was seeing her friends, allies, and soldiers all die to put an end on the purple man's ambition. She could not hold back the tears as everyone she knew and came to respect was all dying. Even the heroes of lore who fought for either her or King Altian. Maybe Noxus was right. Maybe I am too kind, she thought. She looked at her other side and found her weapon, her father's weapon. The blade used to erupt with red doom energy, but now it was as lifeless as a doll. Gravelin was now crying as she saw that Artix was trying to stand up but fell back down as pain wrecked his body. "Artix. I'm so sorry. I couldn't stop him without having you die," she tears up. "Empress." A voice called out to her. She looked behind and saw Mage the Evil holding his bleeding side as it was clear that the wound was fatal. Behind him was his former master Nulgath. It was surprising none of them were trying to kill each other at the moment, though the injuries they sustained kind of made it impossible for them. Nulgath was doing all he can to stand up, but his gigantic body fell with a thud face first and the multiple blades infused poisonous chaotic energy filled the back of the once powerful archfiend were exposed. The blades were deeply stabbed in his back. "It was a great time that I have served you and your father, Empress." He crawled his massive bulk towards his empress. Gravelin could only watch. She could feel the great general was using all his strength to make his way to her. "From a warrior to another, I ask that I am never to be forgotten." He stretched out his hand towards her, and Gravelin slowly raised her hand to slowly touch his. But when they were only inches away, his hand dropped like a rock. Now there only lay the corpse of the great Nulgath. Mage didn't say anything. He looked as his former master died before his very eyes. True, both hated each other with every fiber of their very being, but they were still allies, or at least for the empire, that now seemed to be falling. "Nulgath, even you fell to this war," Mage said as finally he fell to his knees and the pain surged throughout his body. Mage felt his very life force coming out. "So this is how it feels to die, huh?" Mage started chuckling to himself. "Maybe Nulgath and I can continue our war in the next life." His final words left him as his body dropped dead beside a shocked Gravelin. Gravelin was silent at seeing her two generals die. "Gravelin." Artix called out to her. Gravelin looked at the gravely injured Artix. He was trying his best smiling at her, but Gravelin can clearly see the anguish in his face. "Artix, don't talk. Help's on the way. Please just don't strain yourself," she cried as Artix continued smiling through the pain. "There is nothing anyone can do for me now. I feel myself dying as of this moment. The darkness within me is living me as well. I can't see any spirit orbs now, but I can feel them around me, saying I'm going to join them. My only regret is that I never told her how I feel about her." Artix looked at the sky. He saw her face, her long brown hair, her beautiful smile, her blue eyes. "Rabina, I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you, and Vale, I hope you forgive me about Edgar," he said. Gravelin's eyes widened. "No, Artix, don't," she begged as she crawled her way to him. Artix just lied there with a smile on his face. Gravelin shook the undead slayer, but there was no response. "No, please no. Artix, I'll never forgive you. Artix, damn it." She shook him some more but his body remained still. The great Artix was now dead. Gravelin was crying on his chest as she felt everyone she knew was now gone. Her father Sepulchre, King Altian, Nulgath, Dage, the heroes, and now Artix. All of this happened because of him. Because Drogoth wanting all of them to suffer. In a way, he won. She didn't notice that behind her were the remaining Pactagonal knights along with Cicero, Beline, Warlic Rubina, Rolith, Zoom, and everyone else the heroes brought in to help to end the chaotic war. Hell, even Zorbic was there. Everyone was just looking at the sad sight. Even Cicero was sad and crying at seeing his friends die. Rubina saw Gravelin crying on Artix. She quickly ran towards Gravelin and kneeled beside her. She saw his dead smile on his face. She couldn't take it anymore and cried. She wailed at seeing the man who protected her and secretly admired her dead within a pool of his own blood. Beline and Valencia came to her side and comforted the young ranger. The sky darkened as clouds began to form and block the sun, and soon it began to rain. The sky weep at such tragic losses, Warlic said. Galanath the dragon slayer kneeled down and closed Artix's eyelids. Goodbye old friend. May the afterlife be better than your life here. As he finished, suddenly Drogoth's body burst in a horde of flies. Think of what happened to Hermes after Kratos killed him. Everyone was shocked at what happened. What just happened? Beline asked. I don't know, Valencia said. It doesn't matter. He dead, Gravelin's cold voice rang out. The important thing is we bury everyone. They deserve an honorary burial for all they've done for lore in this day. Rolith called out and ordered everyone to take the bodies of everyone who fought in the war, even Dage and Nulgath. Rubina tried to reach out to Artix's body but she was stopped by her female friends. The next day, a memorial was made in Swordhaven. The heroes of the war against chaos were immortalized by the statues that stood near the castle, even Dage and Nulgath won. Everybody was there to pay their respects and thanks to every single hero who fought. In the center of all the statues was Artix. His statue was standing tall and proud holding his legendary battle axe that he lost because of Vordred. We are all here to say goodbye to the brave men and women who protected us against the forces of chaos. They fought with everything they had in their final moments. If it wasn't for them, Drogoth may have won and our world will be lifeless by now. We clerics have washed and purified their bodies to ensure chaos does not mock their sacrifice by using them, Cleric Dawn said as her fellow clerics held candles beside her. Everybody was crying. Every family and friends all gave their offerings to each statue. But the remaining heroes stood in front of Artix's statue. Zoom offered his bow, Warlic offered one of his spellbooks, Cicero along with his wife Nercy offered his hammer. Rolith and his wife Alina offered Artix's very own holy wasabi. Even Zorbic offered his Draconin helm throne, but it was Rubina who gave the biggest gift. She offered the golden dragon blade of her father, King Altian. She cried on the feet of the statue and everyone could only frown with sadness. Galanath placed the plaque below Artix's feet. Artix, a great warrior, a trusted ally, and a friend who will never be forgotten. Gravelin stood in front of Dage's statue. It was a perfect replica of his likeness. The same could be said with Nulgath. She knew them both well ever since Nulgath was known as Miltonius. Her two generals were now gone, and she was all that remains of the shadow side. As she was done paying her respects to the two, she came to Artix's Friends. She saw Rubina cry the loudest. She pitied the girl. Artix's last words were for her and Vale. Speaking of the necromantress, where was she? Gravelin couldn't think of it. What will she do now? Her empire has fallen. She was all that was left. Her base would be empty, and even she wasn't good enough to raise an army of undead as many as her father did. You know, even if you're the last one doesn't mean it ends, a voice said behind her. It was Vale. What are you doing here? She asked the female necromancer. I was hoping you would ask someone to rebuild your army, she answered. Gravelin sighed as her head fell. Vale, there is no point in it anymore, she said. Then she turned around and noticed that a leaf stayed in midair, and everybody was as still as the statues around them. He looked back to Vale, and she saw that she didn't even move. What's going on? She asked as everything was still. Oh, don't tell me the once feared Empress Gravelin is giving up? A voice said from behind. She looked back and saw Eodoa, the chronomancer and former Lord of Chaos, the man who taught the heroes of their true purpose. Come on, Gravelin. Galanath was alone and yet he managed to make this world by slaying the Dragon of Time. Don't tell me you'll let him outdo you. He smiled, but frowned seeing Gravelin had a look of defeat. Iota, there is no point in it. Shadow Scythe has fallen, and I have lost everyone who fought for me and there is nothing I can for anymore, she said with a defeated tone. Iedoa smiled again. Oh, how wrong you are, child. Today's world. A boy about 6 years old was walking around the halls of an orphanage. He had black spiky hair with red tips, deep ocean blue eyes, and had strange whisker marks on his cheeks. He wore a red shirt with white shorts. It was evening, around 9, and he was still up when most kids his age would be sleeping. He was walking around until he bumped into one of the helpers. Naruto, what have I told you about being awake this late? The helper said in a commanding tone. Naruto just stared at the man before him. The man just sighed. Naruto wasn't ordinary, not by a long shot. He wasn't shy, but he is as quiet as a mouse in a pillow factory. He never wanted attention as much as the other kids, even if he looked unique amongst them. But there was something special about him. Naruto was the son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minako Namikaze. Yes, even if he is male, he was still special in all Kunoichi world. But there was always this dark aura around that seems to make him more distant and even dangerous. The caretaker just took Naruto's hand and led him to his room. Honestly, he couldn't sleep at night. Every night was so beautiful. The moon's glow, the stars shining, and the darkness. Who could sleep seeing such beauty? Naruto was always fascinated about darkness. It was just so alluring. They finally reached his room. Naruto went to his bed reluctantly and shut his eyes. The caretaker left thinking he was fast asleep. Come on boy, I know you're not asleep, he heard a voice say, and he opened his eyes, looking for the source. He looked around and nobody there. Right here, it said again. Naruto realized the voice was closer than he thought. He looked under his sheets and found a book. He turned on his lamp and observed the book more closely. Suddenly, the cover had eyes and a mouth form in it. Hello there, it greeted. Naruto let go of the book in shock and it fell on the floor with a thud. Ow, hey, what's the idea of dropping me? It shouted. You can talk. Naruto was in disbelief. The book then floated in mid-air, coming face to face him. Normally books don't have mouths, let alone talk, nor can they float, he said. Oh oops, I get that a lot, the book chuckled. What are you? How did you get into my room? The book just smiled at him. I did, another voice said from his left. He turned to that direction and saw Iota, the chronomancer. Hello child, he greeted Naruto with a friendly smile. Who are you? How'd you get in here? He asked the man. Why, of course an introduction is needed. Hello, my name is Iedoa, the chronomancer at your service, he bowed to Naruto. Why are you here? He asked Iedoa. Well, first I would ask if you wish to learn from me and the book over there. He pointed to the book which smiled at Naruto. Learn what? A lot of things, my boy. I can help you become a strong and powerful warrior. That's impossible. Only Kunoichis here hold power. I'm just a boy, Naruto said, downcasted with his head low. Well, if you go with us, it beats being an ordinary orphan whose potential will never come out and be wasted, the book said to Naruto, which got him curious. Me? Potential? Naruto pointed to himself, which the book shook up and down as if saying yes. Oh yes, I can see, feel, and taste all that power that's hiding inside you, boy. With us, you can be as powerful as any. What do you call them? Cages? The book said, making Naruto's eyes widen. Stronger than a cage? What he says is true, my boy. We can help you realize your true destiny. What do you say? Naruto looked at Iedoa, then the book. He was conflicted by all of this. Before he can say anything, Iedoa beat him to it. How about this? We'll show you what we can teach you. If you are interested, we'll gladly teach you all we can, but if you're not, then we'll leave you alone and you can forget this ever happened, deal? He offered. Okay, Naruto said, a bit unsure. Well, what are we waiting for? Come on Iedoa, let's go. With that, Iedoa used his time magic to teleport the three of them to Naruto's first step in realizing his destiny. 9 years later, Kirigakure. The hidden village of Mist wasn't exactly 100%. The citizens there were obviously stiff and full of fear. Kunoichis were patrolling every area in the village and looking out for any spy that the rebels may have placed in the village. One teenage boy could see that this place has really let itself go. He was wearing a dark blue jacket, Ragna's jacket only dark blue, a black Chinese top with white trims underneath. a pair of baggy black pants with many pockets and zippers. His black spiky hair was pushed back and he had triangular bangs in front of his face and his hair reached the end of his neck, so he had to make it into a tail. Many women were looking at him. It was clear that with the blushes they have, and the heart-shaped eyes, that they find him attractive and alluring. But the young man paid no mind to it since he was already used to it. He wasn't gay, he loved the female attention, but if he responds to it, that could lead to trouble for him. He was carrying a very big guitar case. It was double the size of an ordinary one, but he showed no problem in carrying the seemingly heavy object. It was clear he was muscular but not ripped. More like a middleweight boxer. The women swooned to him, which he smiled at them, making them faint. His sweat dropped at that. He wasn't that good looking. "Man, you have them eating at the palm of your hands." A voice inside his jack was heard. "Shut it. Let's not get any unwanted attention now," he whispered. "Please, with a face like that. The women will be all over you in a matter of minutes." "Remember Kumo?" The voice laughed as he blushed at the memory of some of the kunoichis of that place. A few of them were a short blonde-hair woman with a rack that many women would wish for, a braided blonde wearing a purple suit who also had an impressive rack, a fiery red-haired dark-skinned girl, and more. "Keep talking like that and you'll find yourself as a bonfire for tonight," he threatened, still a blush on his face. Naruto has been traveling around the elemental nations for a year now. He has already gone to 3 of the 5 great villages, and now 4th for Mist. He hasn't gone to Konoha yet. He decided after his stay here he will go there. He found a spot where he can perform. He went over the spot and dropped his guitar case. When he opened the case, he took out a folded steel chair and sat comfortably in it, and then he took a strange-looking doll. The doll was creepy and yet cute to some. It's a ventriloquist doll of one Miltonius or Larvanulgath. And he sat the doll on the guitar case so it can sit, and took a piece of paper that said, "Thank you," and got the doll to hold it. He then took out an ordinary guitar. He put it in his lap and tried to position it to his liking and tested the strings with a little strumming, and when he was satisfied he began to play a tune and sang, "Soul Sister" by Train. He closed his eyes while singing because he finds it more relaxing. As he sang, a crowd began to form at hearing his voice. They were all women, civilian and ninja. As he sang they dropped ryo after ryo at his guitar case. When he was done singing, and opened his eyes, they widened at seeing so many women all came to hear him sing. He looked at his guitar case and found tons of money. He grabbed Miltonius by the back and made the doll look at him. "Hey Milty, how much money was in there?" he asked the doll. Surprisingly, the doll talked. "I lost count at 50,000 inches," he said in a gruff voice. "That much?" he asked, making the women laugh at him at his little comedy act. "Are you deaf or are you just plain slow?" the doll asked him, making Naruto mad. "Hey, I made you, you stupid little termite food," he yelled at the doll. "Oh sorry Mr. Dollmaker, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm not soft and cuddly like the doll could have continued, but he shut him up by covering its mouth. "Don't mind him folks. He's just crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." He smiled at his audience, making them blush and laugh. Cage building. Yashira was sitting in her office with a dead look in her beautiful face. She was an attractive woman in her own way, short feathery grayish hair, pink eyes without pupils like a hyuga, but short, almost childlike build. She also had a scar underneath her left eye and seemed like she was dead inside, like she was way out of it. She looked out at her window and saw a strange sight. A crowd was forming and all of them were females. Some were civilians, but she also saw many of her kunoichi there. Anbu, she called as one kunoichi, came in wearing the Anbu attire with a bird mask. "What is going on in there?" she asked her. "Yashira-sama, it appears that a traveling musician is performing there and seems to have made a crowd." That and well, she was blushing underneath her mask that Yashira can't see. "Oh really? Bring him to me here," she ordered, which the Anbu nodded and shunshined her way to Naruto's area. Yashira tried to get a better look, but the crowd made it impossible for her. She is just going to have to wait. Back to Naruto. He was still arguing with Miltonius, making the crowd laugh at his antics. Then suddenly an Anbu appeared and made her way through the crowd. Everybody was making way seeing she was looking at the boy. "Oh, we're in trouble now," Miltonius said. "Shut up," Naruto barked at him, but the Anbu stopped his act. "You are to come to Yashira-sama immediately, boy. she said with a commanding tone, but underneath her mask she was blushing up a storm. Naruto looked confused at this. What would they want with him? Naruto complied and took his guitar back to his case but held Miltonius, and followed the Anbu to their cage's office. He was doing a little sightseeing at the village. He had to say, even with a civil war, this place was still great. When they reached the building, Naruto looked at it with amazement. It was a big building with the mist insignia on it. When they went inside, Naruto could feel the looks the kunoichi were giving him. Some were blushing, but the older ones were eyeing him like a piece of meat. Naruto felt nervous. This wasn't the first time a cage asked for his presence and a performance. All three great villages' cages asked him for some entertainment with different results. In Kumo, the Raikage gave him a small smile and slow claps. The Tsuchikage only gave him a nod while her daughter and granddaughter gave out amused claps and laugh. The cage was very amused with his performance along with her two older daughters, but the youngest one was eyeing him a lot in a creepy fashion. He is not thrilled about seeing the Mizukage. When he got into her office, he started to think about running away as far and as fast as he can. When he saw her, he felt that it was as if she had no life within her. It kind of freaked him out. Hello Mizukage-sama, what can I do for you? He asked slowly as to not offend her. Entertain me, she ordered in a monotone dead voice which scared him. So for the next 2 hours he did all his tricks to entertain her, played his guitar, comedy act with Miltonius, and even his best trick of juggling 3 daggers and throwing them upward, catching 2 with his hands and catching the third one with his mouth. He expected her to have a response from that, but she still did not look amused. Give this boy 80,000 ryo. You may leave boy. Naruto wasn't sure how to respond to that. He usually gets gasps or applause, but even his best trick couldn't put a smile on her face. She's a tough one, Miltonius said. Let's just be grateful she didn't send us to prison, he said as he got out of her office, and the secretary gave him the money that was ordered. He then left the building and tried to find a place to eat. He found a restaurant that gave him a full belly and now he was deciding whether to stay or not. I think it's best we get out of here. What do you think, Milt? He asked his puppet. Yeah, let's get out of here. This place is more dangerous than the other villages we've been to. And this place has a civil war. The doll shouted. Naruto nodded and hid all his money in his case and went off to leave for the gates. After he left outside the gates, he looked up and saw the sky darkening. He decided to just make camp for the night. He found a spot where he can make a fire and a makeshift bed. He gathered some firewood and some things for his hammock. When he gathered all of them, he put the firewood down, and he looked around to make sure nobody was looking. Satisfied he was alone, he snapped his finger and his thumb caught on fire. That didn't hurt him considering he was a pyromancer. He learned a lot from his journey with the Book of Lore and Iedoa. He reminisced his time with them for 8 years and now he felt alone without Iedoa. You still got me, the voice in his jacket came back. He took out something from his jacket and found it to be the book who he met 9 years ago. The Book of Lore was a very ancient book. It held the history and the knowledge of the past when lore prospered before its fall. Naruto was given knowledge of ancient arts that the heroes of lore learned and now he was the last to ever master them. After a few minutes of making his hammock, he left off to hunt for food. Right now, he was stalking a rabbit by following its tracks in the ground. He followed the tracks, only to stumble upon a naked woman coming out of a natural hot spring. Soon he found a big-ass carving knife of a blade along with several needles near his neck. He looked back and saw 2 identical girls about his age that had long black hair framed their face delicately and large dark brown eyes. One was wearing a blue battle kimono and had her hair in a bun and the other wore a purple version and had her hair in a ponytail. Ah, is it too late to say I was just looking for some food to hunt? He said with sweat pouring down his neck. He could escape this using a bit of his abilities, but that would cause way more problems than he is in now. Is there anything you can say before we end your life, Gaki? The older woman said as Naruto was now pleading, please, I didn't mean to run in by you. I was just looking for some food. If you let me live, I'll let you guys stay in my camp and play you a song. The 3 of them were pondering about this. They haven't set up camp yet, so maybe going to this Gaki's camp wouldn't be so bad, and he said he'll be entertaining them. After a few seconds, they took their weapons away and Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. Alright Gaki, wait here, I'll be back. Haku, Saya, guard him and make sure he doesn't run away." The woman left the area, leaving the two girls to Naruto. A few awkward silence later, "So, what's your name?" the purple one asked. Naruto?" He was unsure as the two seemed to be eyeing him top to bottom. "Well, I'm Saya, and this is my sister Haku," she introduced herself and Haku. Naruto just waved at both, seeing as he didn't know what to do or say. A few seconds more and the woman returned. Now she wore a tight black shirt and matching pants that showed off her rather ample chest, tight waist, and alluringly muscled stomach. Her lower face was covered with bandages so only her gray eyes could be seen, but if one was to look closely one could see the faint outline of a small smile. She had black hair that was mostly combed to the left that went down to the top of her chest. She had a large sword attached to her back. "All right, Gaki, take us to your camp," she ordered, which he complied. As they reached his campsite, the three of them looked around it and nodded in approval. Naruto went to his hammock and took Miltonius. "Hey, I was having a nice nap," it said as he looked behind him and saw the three. Who are they?" he asked Naruto. It's a long story," he said, which Miltonius just ignored it, and Naruto sat him near the fire. "I'll be hunting. Please don't touch the guitar case, it's all I ask." He left, leaving the three of them to set their sleeping bags. Saya was a bit uneasy seeing as Miltonius' doll form was just sitting there appearing to look at them, which were creepy. Haku felt the same way, but did her best to ignore the creepy doll. "That guy was a good ventriloquist. He made that doll talk as if it was real," Saya said. Hisaki-sama, can we really trust the boy?" Hisaki just shrugs her shoulders. "He's just a kid. What's the worst he can do?" Hisaki said uncaringly. "After all, it's not like he was something bad, was he? Just be glad we found him and got him to share his camp with us. Not only that, we get entertainment," Hisaki said as she cleaned her blade and made sure it was spotless. Saya looked at Naruto's guitar case near his hammock. Curiosity got the best of her and walked her way into it. "Saya," he said not to touch it. Haku reprimanded her sister. "Oh come on sis, it's not like you're not curious yourself. I just wanted to look inside is all," she said as she was about to open the case. Naruto returned carrying a good-sized pig on his shoulders. "I'm back with food," he said as he put the pig down. Saya hid the case behind her back, smiling innocently as to hide her crime. Naruto removed his jacket and top as to make sure it didn't get dirty, leaving his chest exposed, but they can also see a long scar on his back. It's like some slashed at his back. "Well, I'll prepare our meal," he said as he shaved the pig of its hair with his dagger and he began to slice the pig into parts. Haku looked at him a bit better and couldn't help but blush at his handsome face and his physique. Saya saw this and couldn't help but agree with her sister. The boy was a hunk in her eyes. Naruto then took some sticks and skewered the pork in them. He threw them to the fire and cooked them. Naruto whipped the sweat out of his body and face, making Haku and Saya, and even Hisaki, to blush. But they wondered, who put that scar on his back? He put his top and jacket back on and turned back to see all three were blushing. He didn't know what it was all about, but he just shrugged it off and went to his guitar case and took out his guitar but blocked the contents from view. He took out his guitar and a container filled with a red-orange liquid inside. He took Miltonius from his spot and sat down, putting the doll in his lap, and sat his guitar. "So you guys want to hear a song?" he asked them. Haku and Saya got at least 3 feet from him and both looked ready to listen. Hisaki was still shining her blade, but it was clear she was listening as well. Naruto tested his guitar, and soon enough he started. "Play Outside" by Stain D. As Naruto played, the three of them couldn't help but feel sad and happy at the same time. The song was too emotional, and they could see in Naruto's eyes that he left his emotions in the song. "But I'm on the outside. I'm looking in. I can see through you. See your true colors. 'Cause inside you're ugly. You're ugly like me. I can see through you. See to the real you." As he finished the song, he felt lighter and freer. Every time he sings, he feels like he's letting go of all his problems. Haku and Saya looked ready to cry, and Hisaki had a look of remembering her ugly past. Then something happened that Naruto did not expect. Haku and Saya hugged him. The sudden inaction made him unprepared, so he fell back to the weight. Naruto looked down and saw Haku and Saya hugging him and crying on his chest. He didn't know what to say. He looked at Hisaki to see that she continued polishing her weapon with her head down. That was so sad. So heartbreaking. Saya said as she hugged him tighter. She remembered the moment that their lives came crashing down. Her mother posing as a civilian and their father rat her out because of their bloodline. Haku felt the same way as she cried along with her sister. She felt her world crashing down since their mother's death at the hands of those evil people. Naruto unassumingly patted their heads. "It's going to be okay," he said, unsure of the moment. He tried his best not to make this moment awkward, and he succeeded. Naruto just lied there and let the girls cry on him. After 5 minutes, Naruto smelled the food was ready. The food's ready. Do you girls want to talk thing out?" he asked, hoping they would get off him. Haku and Saya reluctantly got off his warm body and let him take the food. Naruto then opened the container with the liquid and found a brush inside. He then took one stick and started brushing it with the liquid, which turned out to be sauce. Naruto then handed it to Haku, and he repeated the process until he gave all 3 of them the food. Naruto then got one himself and began to chow down. The 3 could only look at what he gave them. The sauce was dripping and looked delicious to them. Saya gave the first bite, and she then began to devour it with gusto. Haku and Hisaki saw her reaction and took a bite, only for them to do the same. Naruto smiled at seeing them enjoy his cooking. He put in his special secret in all the meat he hunted. After all of them ate their fill, they started to open up to Naruto. They told him their stories and how they came to be as they are now. He felt sorry for them. They were all betrayed by their cage. He just couldn't believe it. When he saw Yashira, it was looking at a lifeless puppet, and like all puppets there was someone pulling the strings. Naruto wasn't sure, so he just put it in the back of his head. "So Naruto, it's not business, but why do you have a scar in your back?" Saya asked him, which made him bow his head, blocking his face. "I got it from someone who I want to see dead and in hell," he said in a calm, yet hateful, tone, making everyone flinch at his voice. "I'm sorry," Saya said. "No, it's all right. You told me yours, I tell you mine," he smiled at her, making her blush. After a few more minutes about talking, the 3 went to sleep, but Naruto took watch. He still didn't want to sleep at night, seeing it was still majestic in his eyes, so he just sat at his hammock. "You know you're soft, kid," the same voice in his jacket said to him, surprising him as it hadn't a word almost all day. You almost gave me a heart attack," he said, clutching his chest. "You know is right. For someone as dark as you're quite soft," Miltonius said as Naruto held his back. "You're becoming another Artix," the voice said, laughing in his jacket. Naruto grabbed the source of the voice. It turned out to be the same book all those years ago. "It's your fault, you know," he said as the book just stuck out its tongue at him. "I can't stay here for long. I need to go to Fire Country tomorrow when the sun rises," he said to the book and the doll. He just looked at the flame and gazing at its hypnotic form. Next morning, the 3 women all woke up at the same time. They all felt relaxed. It was the best sleep they had in a long time, but when they turned to Naruto's hammock they found him long gone. He left a note there and Hisaki went to it and opened the envelope. "It was great to spend time with you 3. I wish you luck in your endeavor, and I hope you guys will someday return to Mist and not get executed. I left you guys something to remember me by." She read the note and looked inside the envelope and found a lot of money in it. It was more than 50,000 ryo. Hisaki and the girls were touched by this selfless act, and by someone they only met for a few hours. Naruto turned and went on his way to his next stop, the Hidden Leaf Village. That was going to be his prime spot because one thing he noticed, women seemed to really enjoy his show. Ninjas especially, some of the civilian women and most of the men would complain that he was either driving business away or disturbing the peace. It would have been a problem, a day or 2 in prison or a fine, but luckily since most of the ninjas didn't care, if not enjoy, his act, the civilians' complaints weren't taken seriously. Some would even give him enough money to rent a room and get a decent meal. And the tricks and skills he learned from different people, some were less than chivalrous, of some villages though, like musicians, pickpockets, thieves, con artists, traders usually. In his months of traveling, Naruto met and made friends with a lot of kunoichi. From Kumo to Suna, he made at least one lasting impression on a kunoichi, even if he didn't know it. Naruto was about a few miles from Kirigakure. His encounter with Hisaki, Saya, and Haku slowed him down more than he would have liked, when he figured he would stop to hunt. Little did he know that he was being hunted as well. Amayuri Ringo was given a simple yet strange mission: stalk the young musician. And when the time was right, strike him down and take him back to the Mizukage, alive. She didn't ask and she didn't really to think why she, a proud Jonin, was sent on this mission alone. The Mizukage had taken a shine to the handsome, young traveler. She wasn't surprised, only a man-hater wouldn't fantasize about the handsome performer that knew how to play a guitar. She started stalking him about a few hours after he left the village. Luckily she didn't see him using fire. When Naruto bumped into the demon of the hidden mist, she thought he was screwed, figuratively and literally. But it seemed that the blonde's charm was strong enough to save him. She watched as he interacted with the three and impressed on how he somewhat stayed calm. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who it is, she fell asleep while stalking him, which was good for Naruto since she didn't saw him talking to Milt or the book. But now she lost him for a while, and it was pure luck she found him again. She found him carrying that huge guitar case. Naruto caught sight of a good-sized stag, enough to feed him for a week. His style of hunting is usually wait and strike. He waits for the right moment, and then takes his prey down with speed and strength. The deer had no idea what laid in store for it, not even when it looked straight at him. Naruto saw the deer stare right at him, but something wasn't right. He was quiet as a mouse and was well hidden even with his big case, unless. He turned his head quickly to see a kunoichi behind him in the trees. Oh shit. He swore as he took running. The kunoichi was hot on his trail as she jumped from tree to tree. Naruto looked up and saw her pull out two twin blades jump down on him. He shifted away just in time so the blades lightly cut his left arm. Naruto slammed himself into a tree by accident just as the woman sent blade over his head that cut the top of his hair off and the tree behind him down. Naruto stared at the blade as the crackled with lighting and smelt of ozone. "Come with me back to Kirigakure," she said with deadly seriousness in her blue-green eyes. Naruto took a better look at her. She had an attractive face that was complemented by her eyes and her long flowing red hair that was tied with a simple cloth that made them protrude upward. She was at his first show in Kirigakure. "Why?" he asked as the sword was near his throat. "The Mizukage wants something with you," she answered, "so come with me, or die." Naruto was scared, terrified even. At least with Hisaki, Saya, and Haku he offered music and food, but that won't work with this situation. "Why me? I haven't done anything," he claimed, but the blade neared his throat. "Silence," she shouted, "I don't care. The bottom line is Yashira-sama sent a warrant out for your arrest and you are coming with me," she said. Now normally, he can escape this, but that would require him using his abilities. That was something he didn't want a person, much less a kunoichi, so he opted to do something desperate and stupid. Naruto, with as much force as he can summon, he smacked the blade away and head-butted her. The blow was so sudden, unexpected and strong that it pushed back the kunoichi away. "You fucking little bastard, you broke my nose," she screamed with both pain and rage, just enough for Naruto to take off running again, holding onto his guitar case. He could hear her coming for him with the crunching of the ground behind him. The smell of ozone increased as he felt the hair stand up on his arms. "Is this what a kunoichi's power is? You stupid boy, you think you can run from me? One of the 7 swordsmen of the mist," she shouted as a bolt of lightning shot next to him, barely missing. Amayuri was getting angrier with every breath. She was one of strongest generation of 7 swordsmen that Kirigakure produced in its history. And yet this mere boy, around 15, was making a fool of her. Kiba, her signature dual blades, were crackling with pure raw electrical energy. She's never been this enraged, this determined for something, but yet, she couldn't stop her heartbeat from reaching a feverish pace and the flushed state of her cheeks. When she got a hold of him, she was going to rape him for days as payback. Naruto was getting frantic. If this went on he'd be dead, or worse, at the hands of the crazed swordswomen. He managed to kick some dirt into her face just to give him some time. He ran for dear life, until he came face to face with a wall made of rock. "Damn it," he cursed as he punched the wall. He then heard footsteps behind him and saw her. She had a crazy smile on her face seeing her prey cornered like a rat. "No escape now, boy. Ha 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 ha. You're going to pay for breaking my nose," she said menacingly. Naruto's mind was racing a mile a second. He was cornered, and the only way to get out of this was for him to break a promise. "I'm sorry, Iedoa. I have no other choice, he whispered to himself. Naruto, now may be the time to fight back, the book in his jacket said. Don't come any closer. I'm warning you, he shouted at her with determined eyes. She was taken back from this, but she shook it off. What can a male do? They can't do anything without chakra. How wrong she was. He put his case to lean on the rock formation. He then looked at Amayuri with the same eyes. Don't say I didn't warn you. His eyes then glowed unearthly blue and he clasped his hands together. To her shock, two gigantic hands made of bone enclosed on her and had her restrained. She was in shock right now. Her first reaction was that this was all an illusion, so she tried to dispel it. After doing it 5 more times, she now sees it wasn't. You have a Kekkei Genkei. She sneered at him. She glared, You're a woman? To answer your question, no I'm not. This is not a Kekkei Genkei, nor is it a jutsu, nor does it involve chakra. I'm just complicated, he said, making her glare at him. I'm a mixed breed. I know a lot of different arts. This one is called necromancer magic, he shouted at her. Her eyes widened at this. He then moved his hands in a throwing manner, as if passing a basketball. The hands holding her followed the motion and threw her to a tree. She was knocked out by the force, unconscious but alive. Naruto then grabbed his guitar case and ran like a bat from hell away from the scene of the crime without looking back. Amayuri came to after several hours. The sky was dark with raindrops falling, covering up any tracks her quarry had made. Failed and tired, she left to report on her failure, but one thing was certain. Her discovery will overwhelm her failure. Little did she know that Kunoichi, loyal to Kumo, had already seen what happened and were already on their way to report to the Raikage. As were Kiri rebels and Iwa ninjas. A few days later, Kumo, the Raikage of Kumo, was staring out the window at her village whose lives were on her shoulders. Was a daunting woman with dark skin, short blonde hair combed back, great height and a muscular build. Her face was made into a stern expression with no room for humor, but if one would make it past that, they would see that she was actually quite an attractive woman. She then eyed the area outside of Kumo's borders when she recalled the gorgeous young man that had entertained her. She never really had a thought for a member of the opposite, so she was rather surprised that she did for that strange musician, especially in such a caring manner. She made a wish to see him again, sometime soon. He was, after all, a traveling entertainer, so he'd probably come back someday. Maybe she could be nicer this time around. Sama, C called out as she and her partner, Daiani, came bursting into her office. Looked at her bodyguards with surprise at their entrance and overall attitude. What? She said simply. She sent the two to go spy on Kirigakure a few days ago so she can be prepared to see if any hostilities between the rebels and Kiri shinobi would boil over to her own village. That looks on their faces seemed to tell her so. You remember that boy that was here? The one with the guitar? C went on. Naruto? She said with her stony face, but inside her heart was racing. Was he in trouble? She thought to herself. He is he right? C asked. Was glaring at her now. I'm pretty sure, said coldly. Why are you asking me about that? C started to stammer. She too couldn't exactly explain what she saw that day. Daiani stepped forward. That Naruto posse's some sort power of which we have never seen before and defeated one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. He said it wasn't a bloodline nor a chakra-based attack, she said. Her eyes went wide. What? She shouted as lighting started to crackle lightly around her. It's true, C claimed, we saw it ourselves. He made a hand, made of bones, and easily knocked her out. Was shocked beyond anything. Where could a boy, just a skilled musician and performer, learn to defeat a Kunoichi? A legendary one at that. And what power does he have? Men lack the chakra to do so. What was Naruto? Then what happened after he defeated the Kunoichi? She asked. He ran off, Daiani said. The swordswoman said something about the Mizukage issuing a warrant for his arrest. Do you think the Mizukage knew before or what? The two questioned their cage. Was silent and thought. What power does the boy have? What made him so special? She thought as an image of him flashed before her eyes. She closed her eyes and saw him again, on the street corner playing a sad tone on his guitar. The first time she saw him, that first time she fell for someone. Her face turned red as she looked up. Where did that come from? She shouted at herself. Sama? Daiani asked. Looked at her 2 bodyguards. Send teams out to the other villages. I want to know where Naruto is and I want him brought to me immediately. Kumogakure is going to receive her first male ninja, her first shinobi, she said with a smile. The two smiled back as they did their cage's bidding. But turned to look back at her village. Her heart started to flutter more rapidly at the thought of Naruto coming back and staying. Kiri rebels. In the tent of Terumi Mei, leader of the Kiri rebels, she and some of her best were talking about strategy for taking the village from the Mizukage. The rebels were powerful on their own as most of them had a Kekkei Genkei. But their problem was fewer numbers and most of them lost morale due to the fact that most of them were fighting against friends, family or already lost someone close to them. Beautiful, that was the first word that comes to most people's minds when they first see Mei. She had a voluptuous body with a striking, fair face that was framed by her long, auburn hair tied into a knot on top. She had green eyes that usually had a gentle gleam in them, but during business or a fight they could be fixed into a state of uttermost seriousness. Mei-san, Chocho, one of Mei's most loyal kunoichi and wielder of the sword Haramekure, whispered in her ear. "What is it?" she asked as she looked over the map. "Your scout has returned and she has odd news," she said. Mei nodded in understanding as she left, as she did several kunoichi nodded in her direction and she nodded back with a light smile. It wasn't long till she reached the tent where the scouts stayed, as she approached her spy, Yutako. She bowed as Mei approached, she smiled at the girl. "What did you find?" Mei asked. Yutako was silent, as if she was trying to exactly explain what she saw. "I saw Amayuri Ringo chasing after a boy," she stated. Mei raised an eyebrow, she knew Amayuri is an effective but very brutal woman. "I don't see how Amayuri's love life is going to help us," she said with disinterest. "No Mei-sama, you misunderstood. She was chasing after the boy so she could arrest him," she stated. This got Mei's attention. "Arrest him? For what?" she asked. Yutako shrugged. "I honestly don't know, but it appears that the Mizukage herself ordered it. So it must have been important, but even that wasn't the oddest thing." Mei eyed her more. "Go on," she said. "Ringo managed to get this boy and seemed ready to kill him. I was about to interfere but the boy managed to fight back and broke her nose in the process," she said. Mei's eyes went wide at that statement. The boy also managed to get away from her, but this is where things get even stranger. The boy used some sort of power that helped him create a giant hand completely made of bones. And the most surprising was that I sensed no chakra, and even my Biju didn't sense any as well," Mei gasped. "Did you hear anything they said?" she asked her. Yutako shook her head no. "What was the boy's name?" Mei asked. "I don't know. All I really know about him was that he was a traveling entertainer. He could be in Konoha by now," Yutako said. Yutako's story made her impressed and curious about this young man. She wanted to meet him in person. "Can you recall what he looks like?" she asked. She smiled when she saw the faint blush on Yutako's face. "I'm guessing that you do." Mei teased the Jinchuriki, making her blush more. "He isn't the kind of face a woman doesn't forget easily." Yutako admitted. "He has black hair, backward spiky, sun-kissed skin, blue eyes, and wears black baggy pants and dark blue jacket with a black Chinese top," she said. Mei nodded. "I'll be sure to send out scouts for him. Kirigakure will soon be under our control, with help from our newest, we can't call him a kunoichi now can we? How about, shinobi? It's got a nice ring to it," she said with a smile. Iwa. Osumi, the oldest living Kage, was doing the dreaded, evil, and twisted paperwork. To make things worse for her, her granddaughter was there bugging the hell out of her. "Come on Granny. Just give me the hat already. You're old enough to go senile," she complained to her grandmother. "Kuritsuchi, for the last time, no. You're still a genin and I've already placed you to compete in the Chunin exams in Konoha in order to prove we still are part of the great nations," she said Konoha with great distaste. Kuritsuchi frowned in her usually smiling face. Her pink eyes, "Yes, I want her manga look," squinted at her. She was about to say more, but a squad of Anbu entered the office. Osumi had assigned scouts to watch for the other nations and see if they were planning anything. This team was assigned in Kiri. "Report," she ordered. The leader of the group came up front. "Tsuchikage-sama, we have some rather odd news," she said, unsure on how to tell this to her Kage. "Well, spit it out." The old Kage lost her patience at seeing them not giving out the report she asked. Do you remember the boy who came here a few months ago and entertained you and your family? She asked, but Kuritsuchi responded to it. You mean Naruto-kun? She asked with a pink blush in her cheeks and starry eyes. The other's sweat dropped at her action, but it was understandable. The boy could attract any girl he wanted. And he wasn't even trying. Yes, what about him? Osumi said, now ignoring her daughter who was daydreaming about the lad. Well ma'am, we spotted him near the borders of Kiri, and he was being chased by one Amayuri Ringo. What? Came the shout of Kuritsuchi. What did bitch do to him? She demanded with fiery eyes that could melt you like butter. Well, she was chasing him in order to arrest him, but he got away. And that was the odd part. Now the Cage and her granddaughter were now interested. You won't believe this, but the boy had powers that is never heard of. The Cage was in shock. She could have sworn her heart stopped, but the Anbu continued. He said about necromancer magic or something like that and knocked out his pursuer. What? The two shouted. We thought at first that it was a genjutsu, but it wasn't. Our censor of the group did not detect any chakra at all, but said the boy used something else, something more potent than chakra. The captain said, and the censor nodded her head. It's true, Tsuchikage-sama. I detected no trace of chakra, but the feeling of that power was cold, dead cold. Whatever power the boy has, it is definitely something different and powerful. Osumi was now contemplating what to do. Then she smiled. Find the boy and bring him here. Iwi will have the very first shinobi in history. Kuritsuchi then had stars again. Naruto-kun is coming back and staying. She shouted and thought of all the things she and him will do. And that involves a hotel room. With just the two of them. Alone. And a bed. With a silencing seal at the door. With Naruto. He was sneezing up a storm. He traveled with barely any breaks towards his planned haven. Konoha was where he was going to hide. He'll find a job and wait for things to cool down. And he can continue his hunt for him. But there was this saying. The past will come back to haunt you. Naruto forgot all about his past, but the past sure does remember him. Konoha. It was morning in the village of Konohagakure, around 9. The people were all getting ready for their morning, stores were opening, restaurants started cooking, and the ninjas were now starting with their patrol duties. This was the scene Naruto saw as he was walking through the crowd. And as usual, he got the same reaction from every girl that he sees or those who saw him. The women were all blushing at him, and some even had drool at their mouths. Seriously, he had bags under his eyes from lack of sleep after running like hell from his accident with that crazy swordswoman. His hair was also a bit messy and had a look of a little grease. And the strangest thing was he had bandage tape on his cheeks. Then again, his muscled arms did make girls notice his physique. He tied the sleeves of his jacket around his waist to prevent himself from hyperventilating. With all the running he did would heat his body too quickly if he didn't remove his jacket. So now his upper body can be seen through his black sleeveless Chinese top that was a bit tight from his sweat. But he was used to it. His agenda for now was to find a place to stay for a few months and a job. Right now, he was in the market district of the village and tried to find a place to work in. He saw a few stores, but nothing worth much as he needed. He got tired of walking around, so he opted to find somewhere to rest. He found a restaurant, a big one at that. In the entrance, it held the name of the restaurant, Ichiraku Ramen, in big letters and lights on it that was used for late afternoon and nights. He decided to enter and see if this place can help him re-energize himself and find everything he needs. Inside, Tucci was happily humming as he was cleaning his countertop. He never dreamt for it to be like this. The fourth and her family loved going to his restaurant, which started small, and the ramen he and his daughter makes. They showed great love so much that they helped turn the once small restaurant into a large business in which it was not just for ramen, but now also can be a bar due to the drinks they serve, which a certain Sanin loves them for, cough Tsunade cough. But right now there was only one thing left. He looked at the center of the establishment where what seemed to be a stage was set up. He didn't have any entertainment. He was looking out for it, but apparently not many had any talent for music. His train of thoughts were cut short as he heard a bell from his entrance door ring, signifying his first customer for today. He saw a boy who he had never seen before, who was very tall, about 5 feet 7 inches, having a weird jacket tied to his waist along with baggy clothing, and a pair of shoes. Think Yoshimori Sumimura's shoes from Kakashi when he goes at night, only the shoes are white instead of yellow, and he looked bone dead tired. He was walking like a zombie to his counter. As he reached the counter, he gently placed his big guitar case to lean on the counter, which surprised him that he didn't just drop it considering it looked heavy. He then dropped his head to the counter with his arms used as pillows. "Whatever you serve, please give me your biggest. I am starving like a wolf on the winter," he said in a tired voice as he was close to just sleep it all off. Tucci was confused, but still gave in for the order. "Ayame, make our biggest. We have a customer," he shouted at the back. In the work area at the back, Ayame came out. "Oh, is it Naruko-chan and Narumi-chan?" she shouted, but her father shook his head. No, we have a new customer." He said the biggest we got. "Tell them to make it ASAP," he ordered. Ayame nodded her head. "You heard him guys, go make our special." She ordered at the back and a chorus of, "Hi," was heard from there by the cooks at the back. Ayame came to the kitchen to check up on the order. Tucci turned his attention on Naruto who looked to be fast asleep. "I never saw you before," he said trying to make a conversation with the boy. "I'm a nomad so I travel a lot and I don't have a home to go to," he said tiredly as he raised his head to yawn not caring someone was in front of him. "You look tired. I haven't eaten for 5 days, and I barely got any sleep this week. I usually sleep in the morning, but some things made me awake for a whole week." He then let his head drop again as he rested it in his arms. "Here's your order sir," Ayame said as she brought his order. The bowl was big, really big. It was 8 times the size of a normal ramen bowl. Naruto smelled food and quickly sniffed the delicious aroma, which he had never smelled before. So getting his head up, he got more of the aroma and drool was coming out of his mouth. What's that?" he asked as he whipped the drool off. "This is our special ramen kid. Enjoy," Tucci said as he got a pair of chopsticks and gave it to Naruto. "Ramen, what's that?" Naruto asked. Tucci had a face of disbelief. "You never heard of ramen before?" Naruto shook his head. "No. I usually eat animals I hunt in the wild," he said offhandedly as he broke his chopsticks and dug in. What happened next made Tucci and Ayame's mind blow away. After the first bite, Naruto just plain devoured the contents, in less than 15 seconds. When they looked at the bowl, nothing was left, not even a drop of soup or a single noodle. Tucci's eyes opened and tried to process it. Ayame was just as shocked. Only 2 families can eat that fast and this boy wasn't part of any of them, well not that she knows. "Wow, that stuff was great. Give me another," he ordered. The father and daughter could not believe this. Naruto looked confused at this. "What, is there something in my face?" he asked seeing the 2 were bug-eyed. Ayame was the first to come out of shock and she ordered the kitchen to make another. As soon as it was done and gave to the boy, the same thing happened. And he ordered again, and again, and again, and again. The sight that the other customers saw when they entered was something they would normally see if the one eating bowl after bowl of ramen was a member of certain families. But seeing a teenage boy eating like no tomorrow without getting fat like a cat in a zoo-sized bird cage made their jaws hit the ground. Some of them were in awe, while a weak few puked at the sight. The boy was stuffing himself with bowl after bowl. It was just 10 minutes and already there was a total of 50 bowls stacked together and he didn't look like he was stopping anytime soon. Then one group of customers entered the restaurant and saw the unholy sight. The boy was oblivious to everyone looking at him as he was too distracted by the heavenly taste of what he was eating. The group consisted of all kunoichis and they were all freshly graduates. Team 7 consisting of Kira Inuzuka, Fem Kiba, Setsuna Uchiha, Fem Sasuke don't ask I just thought of it, and Kiona Zuki, Yugo's younger sister and my OC, Team 8 consisting of Hinata Hyuga, Akira Inuzuka, and Shizukana Aburame, Team 9, who are 1 year older, consisting of Lei Rock, Nejiko Hyuga, and Tenten, Team 10 consisting of Shikanara, Ino Yamanaka, and Cho Akamichi, Team 11 consisting of Naomi and Satsuki Uchiha and Sayo Shimura, Fem Sai. And finally Team 12 consisting of Narumi and Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze and Yakumo Kurama. When they saw the piles of bowls, they looked at the Namikaze twins to see they were there, but who ate all that? They looked to see Naruto, still eating another bowl. As he was done with that, he put it down, patted his stomach, and belched. Really loud. His burp made people wonder if the ground shook. "Ah man, that hit the spot," he said as he took a toothpick and took some leftovers in his mouth. "Check please," he said and waited for the bill. Ayame, still with shock and awe, gave him the bill. The amount he ate would really make any normal person's wallet die. But to her shock, the boy merely shrugged his shoulders, took his giant guitar case, opened it but blocked the contents in it from view, and took a stack of money. The amount was more than what he should pay. "Here, keep the change," he said uncaringly, still cleaning his teeth. Around him, the people took seats in the table and the waiters took their orders, but everyone occasionally took looks at the boy and the stack of bowls next to him. "I feel so much better. That's the last time I won't eat for 5 days, 5 days? More like 5 years," were the collective thoughts of everyone inside, and yes, even the Namikaze twins. Even they can't eat that much at one time. The group slowly made their way to the counter. The group looked at Naruto, and couldn't help but blush. Naruto turned and saw the group and an awkward silence filled the air. The group couldn't say anything since they didn't know what to say. Hello?" he asked as they all kept staring at him. It was starting to really freak him out. Ino was the one who broke the silence. "Wow," came the voice of one Ino Yamanaka as she stared at him in disbelief. "You know, it's pretty rude to stare at someone, right?" Naruto deadpanned as the girls stopped staring and blushed in embarrassment. They took a better look at him and their blushes deepened. He was the most handsome guy they have ever seen. His appearance made him look dark and mysterious. His eyes were the deepest oceanic blue they had ever seen. Not even the twins had the same hue as the boy in front of them. "You've just broken Naruko-chan and Narumi-chan's record." Hinata shouted out everyone's thoughts of the moment. She isn't as shy as her canon self. She has some degree of shyness but not severe. Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion at this. "Let me explain," came the voice of one Shikanara. "You see, the two here holds the record of the most ramen eaten in one meal. A total of 60 bowl each of them. You just ate a total of." She looked at the stacked bowls and counting in her mind, 80 bowls. "You have just broken the record, which is disturbing," she ended with her right eyebrow twitching. "Oh," Naruto said as he threw the toothpick. Naruto looked at Tucci. "Hey old man, thanks for the meal. That was one of the best I've ever had. But can I ask you something?" Tucci nodded as he wanted to know what he wanted. "Well, do you know any vacant apartment rooms around here? I want to stay here for a little while, and maybe do you know anyone who has a job for me?" Tucci was rubbing his chin in thought. "Well, what are you good at?" he asked him. "Well, I play music," he said, to which he noticed his eyes were sparkling at him and he had a big smile on his face. "Really?" he asked. Naruto nodded, pointing to his case. "Why do you think I have that? Maybe you can give me a sample of your talent. If I and my customers like it, then I might just hire you," he smiled. The girls were surprised. "Can you really play?" asked one Narumi as she looked at the boy. For some reason, she felt like she saw this guy at some point. "Watch me," Naruto said as he took out his guitar from his case. But while he was also doing that, he took out his trusted doll Miltonius. He gave the doll to Hinata, which freaked her out as Miltonius was directly looking at her. "Oh, don't worry, he won't bite. Now behave yourself, mister, or I will turn you to sawdust," Naruto warned as he grabbed Miltonius back. What am I, a 12-year-old? And hey, be careful where you touch me, doll face," he said as he turned towards Hinata, making her even more creeped out. Before she could protest, Naruto was already on his way to the stage. Everybody was now looking at the boy as he took a chair from the stage and lowered the microphone so that both his guitar and voice be heard. "Hello, is this thing on?" He tested the microphone and sure enough it was. "Hello everyone, I'm your entertainer for today. This is my first song." He then began playing a tune, and it was a sad one. Untitled by Simple Plan. Everybody was now listening to the calm yet sad tune of the guitar. Naruto was then feeling the rhythm and was waiting until he can sing. "I open my eyes. I try to see but I'm blinded by the white light. I can't remember how, I can't remember why, I'm lying here tonight, and I can't stand the pain. And I can't make it go away. No, I can't stand the pain." Everybody felt the sad lyrics in the song. Some had their eyes beginning to water, and some were now remembering some painful memories. "How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on. As I'm fading away, I'm sick of this life. I just want to scream. How could this happen to me?" Naruto closed his eyes as he continued playing. He himself was feeling pain within him, all caused by him. "Everybody's screamin'. I try to make a sound but no one hears me. I'm slippin' off the edge. I'm hanging by a thread. I want to start this over again. So I try to hold on to a time when nothing mattered. And I can't explain what happened. And I can't erase the things that I've done. No, I can't. Some were now actually crying, and others were now fully mesmerized by the song, especially the rookie teams. How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on. As I'm fading away, I'm sick of this life. I just want to scream. How could this happen to me? Naruto was now in the instrumental part of the song and was now playing as if he was a rock star. How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on. As I'm fading away, I'm sick of this life. I just want to scream. How could this happen to me? How could this happen to me? How could this happen to me? Naruto hit the last note on his guitar. Everybody was then clapping to him, screaming for an encore. Naruto smiled and lapped up the applause he was getting. Then Ayame appears on stage. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head. Did you write that song? I mean, it was. Ayame tried to say but was too excited. No, I didn't write this song. It came from a band from where I came from, he said as Ayame looked a little surprised. Where do you live anyway? She asked him, making the audience wonder as well. I lived outside the elemental nations. I came in these lands around just a year ago. I've been to everywhere, and I learn and experience new things, and some dangerous ones, he added mentally. Ayame was amazed at this. Wow, you must have been traveling a lot, she said in the microphone. Truth be told, I got a little tired from traveling and decided to stay here for a little while, maybe a few months, he said, shrugging his shoulders. So do I get the job as an entertainer here along with my band? He asked, smiling at her, making her blush. Of course. Wait, you have a band? She asked, confused. Naruto just nodded his head. I do have a band. They're just not here right now, trying to find a place to crash in. Ayame nodded. So, do you like to perform tonight? Tonight's will be the first music night, she announced. Sure, I'll tell my band to get ready for tonight at. He looked at Ayame, wondering for the time. At 6 inches, she said as she smiled at Naruto. Okay, consider today as just a glimpse of what we'll bring, he said as he grabbed his guitar and went down the stage. You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is music night with our new performers. Don't forget to tell your friends, she said as she too followed out the stage. When Naruto returned to the counter, the rookie teams were now looking at with awe and amazement. Naruto smiled smugly at them. Told you I can play, he said. Ino had stars in her eyes as she was now mere inches from his face. You have a band? That is so cool. What's the name of your band? She said, getting even closer to Naruto, forcing to back away a little. Well, you'll just have to find out tonight like the rest, he said, gaining his balance and seeing Ino pout cutely. That was most youthful music, Naruto-kun. I hope tonight you will be even more youthful with your band and ignite your flames of youth, shouted one member of the group, which strangely everyone around them seems to ignore. Maybe they were used to it. She was wearing a very skin-tight green spandex that showed her ahem assets along with some orange leg warmers with her Konoha headband as a belt. She had black hair that was in a roughly bull-like shape, and large black eyes that most would consider to be cute in an adorable way. She had an appealing face with an energetic smile, perhaps too energetic. The way her D-cups were moving suggests that she wasn't wearing a bra. Ignite what now? Asked a confused Naruto with a raised eyebrow. Then another girl came and bopped the girl, who shouted, Sorry about that, and please ignore it. She's just hyper, especially with her sensei, she said, chuckling nervously. The girl wore a long-sleeved white blouse with a red fastener along with a red puffy hakama with parts of her legs exposed, covered in white bandages, and her Konoha headband was in her forehead. She had brown eyes and brown hair in the shape of 2 buns, making her look like a mouse or a panda. Her curvaceous figure was complemented by her C-cup and perfectly shaped ass. Okay, Naruto wasn't sure what to say for that. Another this time came to him. She had dark black long hair in a ponytail, black eyes that held a little mischief in them. She wore a blue shirt that showed impressive figure and D-cup chest, and a pair of black biker shorts and a short black skirt and blue ninja sandals. Her Konoha headband was used as a bandana. Hey, we haven't introduced ourselves yet. She smiled, a very sunshine smile that somehow made his spine feel a cold chill. My name is Naomi Uchiha. She smiled even bigger with more mischief in them. I am Kion Izuki, said a violet-haired girl. Her long hair was tied to a ponytail. She was wearing a white sleeveless battle dress that showed her rather growing, with slits on her legs and a fishnet shirt underneath her dress, with black gloves reaching just below her armpits and had forearm protectors, and she had blue shorts with black thigh-length socks and wooden sandals. She bowed her head with a blush and a smile, making her look cute. Her look is in my profile. How troublesome. My name is Shikanara. She wore an open short-sleeved gray jacket with green edges with a tan mesh bodysuit that outlined her D-sized S and short brown skirt. Her hair was in a pineapple-like jet black ponytail. She had dark eyes that gleamed with both laziness yet brilliance. She had an annoyed expression, but it didn't deny that she had both of her mother's good looks. I am Kira Inuzuka. Kira was a girl with a feral yet charming appearance with wild spiky brown hair and black canine-like eyes with the red fang markings of her clan on her cheeks. Her small dog companion barked in agreement. She wore a sleeveless gray hooded coat with a brown fur trim that covered her small CS with matching arm and leg guards along with black biker shorts. Her forehead protector was on her forehead. My name is Shizukana Aburame. She was wearing stylish shades that hid her eyes. She looked rather androgynous yet still attractive in her own way. Her hair was poorly managed and wild, and she wore a baggy open jacket with a hood up that showed her rather great figure from prying eyes, and a brown high-button skirt, and black undershirt in the jacket. The way she voiced her introduction made her sound like she was in a trance. Hey there, I'm Cho Akamichi. A rather plump girl introduced herself. Okay, at this point, I'm tired of describing everyone's appearance. At this point, just please bear with me. I'll put in my profile of the ones I did not describe since it will eat most of my time just typing them, and the ones that are already girls have the same look in Shippuden, so please bear that in mind. Nejiko, Narumi, and Naruto all looks like in Demon Blade my other story, and Satsuki and Naomi looks are in Hybrid Sage of Chaos, while Yakumo looks the same. Hello, my name is Rockley, and these are my teammates Ten and Nejiko Hyuga. Lei shouted as grabbed both Tenten and Nejiko in a double headlock. Lei, let go of me this instant. Nejiko shouted as she pried herself out of her energetic teammate. Tenten soon followed after apologizing for her friend's behavior. Okay, they either gave her coffee instead of milk when she was a baby or gave her adrenaline shots on a weekly basis. Judging as to how hyper she is, I'd say both, he mentally thought as he sweat dropped at the team's antics. Then the blonde girl from before came to him. Hi, I'm Ino Yamanaka and teammate are Shika and Sho, which you already know. She smiled at him. Hello, my name is Hinata Hyuga, and please here's your doll, sir, she said as she hurriedly gave him Miltonius back. Oh Milt, I almost forgot about you, he said, taking the doll from Hinata, who seemed afraid of the little thing. That's depressing, Milt moped. Aw, come on man, and you know we're tight, he said as he sat Milt in a chair on the counter. The girls were listening with his conversation with the doll and wondered how is it he makes talking to himself not look crazy to others. It must be a ventriloquist thing. Well hello, my name is Satsuki and this is my fraternal twin Sasaki, she said as she then grabbed another girl by the shoulders, dragging Sasaki, who was scowling and blushing seeing her twin brought the spotlight to her. Naruto, can they were fraternal twins, seeing as Satsuki has long straight hair and Sasaki has long spiky hair. Hello, my name's Sayo Shimura. Nice to meet you. Naruto didn't need to be trained to see that the smile on her pale yet cute face was fake. Okay, this one is not normal. Whatever normal is for Kunoichi's, he thought, trying to make a smile too, though it was a nervous one. Hello, my name is Yakumo Kurama, she bowed at him politely. And we are Narumi, and Naruko. Uzumaki Namikaze. The twins introduced themselves as if they were game show hosts. And all of us together, we are the Konoha rookies, they said in sync. Wow, that's a lot of names to remember, he said, scratching the back of his head. Then came to him with stars on her eyes. So what's your name, cutie? She asked, making him blush. He has never met a girl who was this open to him. Well, if it means anything, my name is Naruto, he said, making the girls confused for the lack of a family name. Seeing their confusion, he answered the unsaid question. I'm an orphan, so I don't my family name nor who my parents are, he said with a little sad tone. Truth be told, Naruto held a little envy in his heart at seeing so many happy families. He wished he at least knew who his parents were or if they did love him. The gap in his heart, he felt, will never be filled. "Oh sorry Naruto-kun," Hinata apologized for the group. "Yeah, it must suck not being in a pack," Kira said in sympathy for the guy. "Well, I got used to it and moved on. I've had a lot of adventures in my life and I learn new things in a daily basis," he said, reminiscing of said adventures and a shudder for the few unpleasant ones. "Wow, that sounds so cool," Naomi said as the others were looking at him as if asking him to tell one of his adventures. "Trust me, you wouldn't believe me unless you saw it yourselves. I don't any of them will forget anything," he said mentally. "Well, it's been fun and all, but I need to find a place to crash in since I have a job now. Hey, do you guys know a place for me to stay?" he asked them. "Well, there are a lot of apartments in the next district. They have room that accommodate a whole family," answered one Shikanara. But she felt a light shiver seeing some of her friends were glaring at her for taking the chance for them to ask if he could stay in their homes. "Really? Thanks," he said as he opened his guitar case and took out a skateboard. The girls were all confused as to they have never seen such a thing. Naruto-san, what is that?" Yakumo asked, and everyone looked at Naruto, who looked gobsmacked. "You guys never saw a skateboard before? Talk about no fun zone," he said, shaking his head in disapproval. He then dropped the board on the ground and stepped atop with his guitar case on his right shoulders and Milt on his left hand. "See you guys later," he said. He opened the door of the restaurant and rolled out. What a strange guy, but he did say he lived outside the elemental nation, and he was so cute and handsome, squealed Ino. The others had sweat dropped at her but couldn't help and agree. "Hey, why don't we tell our parent about tonight? They can drink and have entertainment. We can also have a great time," said Naruto, who wanted to hear more from the boy. "Yeah, I'm sure everyone will have a great time," Akira said as she grabbed her twin sister Kira, and soon everyone went out and tell their parents. Unknown to them earlier, Naruto went to a secluded alley. Once he was sure no one could see him, he waved his arm to a wall, and instantly a black portal opened. Hee, I'm glad I took those Riftwalker classes. This sure does beats normal walking." He then stepped to the portal. On the other end, he was in the next district from where he was and soon began looking for a temporary home. Cage Tower. Minako Namikaze was sitting in a chair in her office, watching her shadow clones do the paperwork for her. She was imagining the furious faces of the other cages as they saw her beat the dreadful thing that has been tormenting cages since the founding of hidden villages. She smiled just thinking about it and ignoring the glares she received from her clones. She was really happy about her life. She married a beautiful woman in Kushina, she has 2 beautiful and talented daughters, and now she was also the Hokage. Everything she wanted was already achieved, but there was something that always haunted her for the last decade: the loss of her estranged son. Oh, she remembered that day fully well and she couldn't stop crying. It was worse than the accident with the Kyuubi. The 2 things that will always burn in her mind and heart were dark memories. Flashback. A full search party was conducted in the orphanage. The sudden disappearance of the boy was something Minako and her wife can't ignore. Kushina was walking everywhere in the room her son used to be in. She was looking everywhere for evidence in where he could be or who took him. Minako was also waiting for the report of the search team. "Minako, my dogs have found a scent that isn't Naruto's," Tsume said as she brought Kuromaru with her. "The scent leads to his bed, but there is no definite source of where it came from. It was like it just appeared out of thin air, like the same way it disappears with your son." Minako was wide-eyed. "Impossible," Kushina shouted as tears were in her eyes. "The only way for that to be possible is if they have a teleportation jutsu, but I'm the only one who has it, and even then if they did there should be chakra trail, but the Hyugas say there isn't any." Minako was now confused as to how this was possible. She asked the caretakers, and they always say Naruto always stays up late at night and outside his room. One caretaker, the one from before he went missing, told her that he took him back to his room the night before his disappearance and that was the last he saw of him. Why didn't we just let him in our home?" Kushina sobbed. Minako comforted her, "You know why. He'll feel unloved because he's a male, Kushina. We won't have time for him. We would be so busy teaching the twins that we can't spend time with him. And let's not forget I am the Hokage and that you are a very important member of the Anbu. We literally have no time for him." She cooed her as Kushina's sobs lessened. End of flashback. After the investigation, she sent a search team to find Naruto, but after a year she was forced to call a stop to it. Now it was almost a decade since then, and still she feels that her son was out there. Then she heard a noise in her window. She looked that it was opened by her sensei, Giuna, Fem. Jiraiya. Hey Minako. She greeted her student with a big smile on her face. How is my favorite student doing? Sensei, no offense, but I'm your only student, she deadpanned. Other than that I'm fine actually. Considering I have to prepare for the upcoming Chunin exams. What's strange is that every major village will be participating, she said with a bit of suspicion in her voice. That doesn't sound good for our hero. Giuna's face became serious. If you think that's strange, you should hear what my spies told me. It seems every village, including Mist, are sending out scouts on their border looking for something or rather someone. Minako was shocked at this new information. Sensei, please keep an eye out on this. Whatever they are searching, it must be very important, she ordered her sensei. Then in a split second, Giuna's face had a big smile as she handed out a scroll to Minako. Her face was full of confusion. In that scroll are some of my personal ninjutsus, give it to your kids so they could learn it. Oh yeah, I need to talk to Tsunade-chan in the hospital and Oro-chan too so that we could have a good old drink, she said and was about to leave when the door in the office opened. To their surprise, it was Naruto who opened the door. Ka-chan. Aro Obaa-chan. You can't believe it. She was so excited that she was jumping up and down. Whoa there. Naruto-chan, please calm down. What is it? Minako tried to calm her daughter so she can tell her news. You can't believe it. Old man Tucci finally found himself an entertainer, and he was pretty good too, she said as she had a dreamy look in her face that made Giuna smile a perverted smile and Minako's eyes were twitching. Can you show me the face of Tucci's new musician sweetie? Minako was trying everything to hide how irked she was much to her sensei's joy. Naruto put her hands in a ram seal and hanged to show Naruto's features to every detail. To say both were shocked was an understatement. Giuna and Minako all felt a ghost of a chill in their spine at seeing the boy's form. Minako felt her heart was about to pound out of her chest. Then Naruto turned back to normal. Tonight he said he will perform at Ichiraku with his band. Come on Ka-chan, please come tonight. Please, everyone one of my friends are, she begged while using the dreaded sad puppy eye jutsu that seemed to always makes you want to say yes no matter how much you don't want to. Alright Naruto-chan, we'll both come since your godmother here wants to drink with her friends too. She smiled at her daughter who squealed and ran out the door in extreme joy. Minako then turned to Giuna with her serious expression back. Do you think that he could be him? Giuna finished for Minako who just nodded. I don't know. We forgot to ask Naruto for a name and now Narumi must be telling Kushina who was heartbroken since his disappearance. I don't want your hopes to be crushed, but there is a chance that this boy could not be him, and it could hurt Kushina even worse. Minako slumped in her chair. For our sake, I just hope Kushina doesn't take this too seriously. Minako then stood up and placed a hand on her sensei's shoulders. Sensei, can you do me a favor and look out for this boy? I need to know everything about him, but be casual about it. I don't want the wrong people to get suspicious. Giuna nodded and went to the window. But before she could jump down, she looked back at Minako. Oh, before I forget, if this boy is him, I just want to say he is as good looking as his parents. She smiled before finally leaving a blushing Minako. She then looked at a family portrait she hung in her office. It was the picture of her, Kushina, and her twin daughters. Is it really you Naruto? With our hero. Naruto sneezed rather loudly in front of a man in a business suit, who suspiciously looked like a certain goofy guy from a world where Shinigamis fight off monsters and wears a silly-looking bucket-shaped hat with green stripes and owns a certain store. Sir, are you okay? You're not sick are you? He worriedly asked the boy. No, I'm fine. Someone must be talking about me. So I'll take the house, he said. The man in front of him took his hand out to shake which Naruto took. It was a pleasure doing business with you Mr. Naruto. Naruto smiled and took a stack of money and gave it to the former owner of the house. The house itself wasn't as big as a clan's house, but it was big for a civilian family. It could accommodate at least 10 people and it was 2 stories tall. The former owner then went off to God knows where, and Naruto opened the gates with the key he was given. Maybe I should prepare for tonight. Nah, I got a lot of time. He then went to the master's bedroom and set his guitar case down. He then threw his socks and shoes off and threw himself in his bed and caught a few Z's since he hasn't rested properly for the last 5 days. Unknown to him, he was being watched by the window by Giuna. She took a closer look at the boy with her telescope and couldn't help but nod in approval. She listened to the transaction between him and the former owner, and it only helped prove even further that this is the boy they were after. "Is it really you, Naruto?" she asked herself. Naruto right now was nervous. Alright, that may be an understatement. He was downright petrified. Why, you ask? Simple, because right now he was backstage in a room of Ichiraku Ramen, preparing for his first performance in Konoha. That was just part of it. The whole place was packed with people, kunoichis and women to be exact. Apparently rumors of a handsome young man with great musical talent arrived for a gig at Ichiraku's spread really fast, go figure. In all honesty, he should be used to it. Almost everyone who listens to his music were women, civilian or ninja. Hell, there is already a fan club in every place he has been to, and Konoha was going to become next. But right now, this has to be the biggest crowd he has had. Females of all ages, occupation, and even status were here. He was working up a lot of cold sweat. Dude, relax. It's not like you haven't been seen playing by an audience before. A man with messy brown hair that covered both his eyes tried to calm down the panicking teen. Easy for you to say, Cicero. You're not the one that got hunted down by a crazy lady who saw your deep dark secret. Naruto sneered as he lay on a chair, placing his head on his hands in a defeated manner. Cicero just smiled at Naruto. He just put the finishing touch to his looks. He wore a green oversized shirt, baggy brown shorts past his knees, and a checkered Snickers. He decided to wear a gray jacket that remained open. Well, what did you expect, dude? You're a literal babe magnet. He laughed at Naruto's misery. There is nothing you can do, Naruto. What's done is done. A man with short white hair reasoned with Naruto. He wore a blue shirt with matching pants. Warlick's right, man. You messed up big time. So what? A guy with dark brown hair, almost black, and green eyes with tattoos that look like black lightning under it said. Thanks, Zoom, that made me feel so much better, Naruto sarcastically said to Zoom. Zoom put on a red shirt that has the letters A printed in gold on it. He had white pants, but he was barefooted. Cheer up, Naruto. Everyone makes mistakes. A blonde man tried to cheer up the depressed boy. He wore a white shirt with Pac-Man on it, a pair of gray pants, and white shoes. Rolith, I appreciate that, but I want that memory to be gone. Now I'm practically a wanted man in Kiri, Naruto sulked. Come on, just because one saw you use magic doesn't mean your cover's blown. A guy with short brown well-kept hair said. He wore a gray shirt with a golden dragon, the dragon sign in Swordhaven, and black pants along with black shoes. What do you mean by that, Artix? Naruto's head popped up. Well, if you think about it, women rule these lands. If they heard a boy having powers, they'll think it's just some rumor or heresy that the folks keep telling for fun, Artix explained. Now Naruto was thinking about it. He's got a point there. If that lady were to tell her leader of what you did, they'll just think she went to the deep end because of her job. There's no way she'll believe you powers, Cicero added. Naruto had to admit, his reason holds a lot of merits. Would they really believe he has powers, if only he knew? But what if she does believe in what she told her? Naruto asked. Warlick provided a wise answer. If that were the case, then she is not going to blurt it out to the world. The fact a boy could use magic is something new. They will try to capture you secretly. That is better than being hunted down by the whole land. Naruto had to admit, that is pretty good. It's not like there were spies there when he used magic, right? Wrong. Naruto smiled at the notion. They're better? Zoom asked. Naruto nodded his head as he lay back into the chair. Admittingly, yes. He sighed as he relaxed more. They all heard a knock on the door. The door opened to reveal Ayame, who blushed upon seeing Naruto. 5 minutes, Naruto-kun, she said as she quickly ran. Looks like someone already has an admirer here, Zoom teased Naruto. Shut up. Naruto stood up and went outside the room followed by the others. As they were going to enter the stage, they looked to see just how many people were there. Naruto had never seen such a crowd before. The closest was when he was in Kumo with B. The guys took their places. Naruto was the main guitarist now with an electric guitar, Zoom the second guitarist, Artix as bass. Warlick was on the keyboard, Rollith in the DJ table, and Cicero as drums. Ayame was just below the stage. The crowd had consisted of the Hokage herself, clan heads, elite kunoichis, prestige civilian women, and the rookie genins. Naruto was amazed of just how fast he became popular. Alright everyone, thank you all for coming here on this special night. Today is the first music night of Ichiraku Ramen, and we would like to treat you all specially for we have a new great band for tonight. Please enjoy the food and the entertainment, and have a wonderful night, she finished with a bow. Well, you heard her, let's make it special, Cicero said as he twirled a drumstick. Rollith had turned on his DJ table. Warlick was checking the keys, and the rest were strumming to check. Good evening everyone, tonight's our first night here and me and my band would like all of you to enjoy. Just sit back and relax, Naruto said, making everyone blush at seeing him. The band then started playing Time of Dying 3 Days Grace. On the ground I lay, motionless in pain. I can see my life flashing before my eyes. Did I fall asleep? Is this all a dream? Wake me up, I'm living a nightmare. I will not die, I will not die. I will survive. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. I feel alive when you're beside me. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. In my time of dying. The crowd was cheering loudly at the group. Some were even calling whistling, and some were having dreamy eyes for the lead singer. Cicero had a goofy-looking grin as he beat the drums, think of Trey Cool. On this bed I lay, losing everything. I can see my life passing me by. Was it all too much? Or just not enough? Wake me up, I'm living a nightmare. I will not die, I will not die. I will survive. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. I feel alive when you're beside me. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. In my time of dying. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. I feel alive when you're beside me. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. In my time of dying. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. I will not die when you're beside me. I will not die, I'll wait here for you. In my time of dying. After the song, claps and applauses were given. They cheered so loud you would have become deaf. Naruto smiled at seeing people appreciates him. That ain't the only thing. Ayame came up stage with a microphone. Hello Naruto, nice to see you again. Naruto smiled as he thanked her. So this is your band. Care to introduce them to the audience? She asked, to which Naruto complied. The crazy bastard in the drums is Cicero. Don't take your eyes off him. He'll do some crazy shit if no one's looking, he warned, to which Cicero just waved his hand without a care in the world. The guy on the keys is Warlick. He pointed, to which Warlick just nodded. The guy in the DJ table is Rollith. Rollith waved with a smile, sup. The bass is Artix and the last is Zoom. Both held their hands in a V. Well, those are some weird names you have there, said Ayame as she never heard those kind of names. Why thank you, Cicero said without minding the fact she said his name was weird. The crowd laughed at it. So Naruto, what's the name of your band? Ayame asked as she placed the mic on Naruto. To be honest, we never really thought of a name as of yet, Naruto scratched the back of his head. Ayame looked confused at that. You don't have a name for your band? She asked. Zoom took the chance to take the mic. Of course we do. Don't we, Naruto? He said as Naruto tried to stop him. We call ourselves the SHADOWSCYTHE. Cicero joined in announcing there would be names. What it is not. Naruto protested, but Zoom shut his mouth with his hands. Of course it is. Naruto was the one who thought about it, Cicero said as Zoom restrained Naruto. Isn't that a little scary? Ayame was weirded out by the name, but she completely ignored Naruto, who was struggling to get out of Zoom's hold. The crowd was now having a full blown out laughter. Oh my god, this guys are killers. One Mitarashi Anko laughed out, almost choking on her dango. She was smacking the table as she laughed. By her side was her two best friends Kurenai Yuhi and Inuzuka Hana. Both were also laughing, but not as much as Anko was. They came because Anko and Kurenai's students were telling them of a great singer that came to Ichiraku for performance, and he was quite handsome. To Anko, that was an understatement. He was the kind of guy she'd kidnap and have her way with and fuck the consequences, and someone else. As Ayame finished her interview, Zoom finally released the black and red-haired boy. I hate you too. I really do, Naruto rubbed his neck. Well everyone, we got more for you, so please just keep enjoying yourselves. Unknown to Naruto, Two people were very deeply looking at him. One was a beautiful red-haired woman with violet eye. She wore a white dress along with a black apron. Kushina may already be over 30 years, but she still looked as if she was in her 20s. The other was her husband, Minako. Both shared one thought in their heads: Naruto, is that you? I was tempted to end it here, but since I owe much of you because of my laziness, I decided against it. Paralyzer by Finger 11. I hold on so nervously to me and my drink. I wish it was cool in me. But so far has not been good, it's been shitty. And I feel awkward, as I should. This club has got to be the most pretentious thing. Since I thought you and me. Well, I am imagining a dark lit place. Or your place or my place. Well, I am not paralyzed, but I seem to be struck by you. I want to make you move because you're standing still. If your body matches what your eyes can do, you'll probably move right through me on my way to you. I hold out for one more drink before I think. I am looking too desperately. But so far has not been fun, I should just stay home. If one thing really means one, this club will hopefully be closed in 3 weeks. That would be cool with me. Well, I am still imagining a dark lit place. Or your place or my place. Well, I am not paralyzed, but I seem to be struck by you. I want to make you move because you're standing still. If your body matches what your eyes can do, you'll probably move right through me on my way to you. Well, I am not paralyzed, but I seem to be struck by you. I want to make you move because you're standing still. If your body matches what your eyes can do, you'll probably move right through me on my way to you. Not paralyzed, but I seem to be struck by you. I want to make you move because you're standing still. If your body matches what your eyes can do, you'll probably move right through me on my way to you. You'll probably move right through me on my way to you. You'll probably move right through me on my way to you. Everybody was enjoying the night. Many were drinking as the band played. Clan heads were chatting, others were playing poker, sunadikao, and some were just having fun listening to the music. However, Kushina was very much deep in thought. Can it be you? Please, Kami-sama, don't let this be a dream. At long last I found my Naru-kun. If you look closely, a small lone tear escaped Kushina's eyes and a happy smile was on her face. Minako saw this and hoped that this was indeed their Naruto, the one she regrettably let go because of the kunoichi lifestyle. Naruto was also having fun. He played a lot of songs, and his bandmates goofed up a bit. All in all, he might enjoy being here in Konoha. Somewhere in a different dimension. I know you're out there somewhere, boy. Next time we meet will be your end. An intimidating man sat on a throne. He had on a purple organic-looking armor with one mean-looking eye right on his chest. Behind his throne was an arc with many signs on it. The man's face was overshadowed, but his eyes glowed a menacing orange. Report, he shouted as 2 figures appeared before him. Both the figures turned to be female. One had red and black skin in a checkered style, 2 horns at the top of her head, completely yellow eyes, small bat-like wings on her back. She had on a pair of spiked bracers, and she wore high heels. Her partner looked exactly like her, but instead she was black and white, a halo instead of horns, and angelic-looking wings, completely white eyes. She also had spiked bracers and high heels. She looked angelic to her demonic counterpart, but she was anything but angelic. Both wore nothing more than a 2-piece lingerie that matched their skin tone, but both were charming in their own way. These 2 were Shang, red, and Zhang, white. Master, we have some unfortunate news to tell you, Shang started. The strings on our puppet has been cut. She no longer listens to us after she was defeated by the rebels of her home, Zhang finished for her sister. Bah, it doesn't matter. She already did what we needed for her to do along with the others. We made so much mistrust among the lands that they have weakened themselves for us to do what we wish, the man boomed. We have other news, Master, Zhang said. Oh yes, apparently a talk about a boy who used never-before-seen powers has been spotted near our old puppet's home. And he is heading to our little friend's home, Shing finished cryptically. For a moment the man was silent, then a ghost of a smile seems to be visible, then a chuckle, then full-blown laughter. Ha 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 ha, so he has returned to his home without even knowing it. The fool, the man stood up as he was even more intimidating as he stood to his full height. Master, what shall, Shing started, we do? Zhang finished. For now nothing. He can no longer hide from me. I know where he is now and our next meeting will be at hand. But he is now hiding from the others who seek his power. Let them chase him. Let them cause disorder as they seek him. Let him think he is safe." The man then turned to the ark. "Soon, my queen, you shall be free, and the land shall know chaos." Within the ark, a giant eye appeared and looked at the three. It was glowing with a great deal of power. "The world shall soon see our return. The world shall see our power. H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A-H." The man laughed as the eye glowed even more. It was already 2 weeks since Naruto stayed here in Konoha, and already he is making a name for himself. He was the most popular male on the whole village and also one of the most bizarre one. Not only him, his group were considered strange yet lovable. Ichiraku was still the only gig they do in almost every night ever since he arrived, but it was only a matter of time before someone hires them to perform to other establishments. It wasn't to say that his time here was 100% safe for the lack of a better word. There were instances in which he considered hazardous to his health, especially if Cicero got his hands on anything. Seriously, he didn't know how Cicero made fireworks with mouthwash and gift wrappings. A section in the village still wasn't clean from the destruction, and Cicero was banned from anything fire-related. He lost count of how many complaints he got and all the damage reports he had to make because of the insane man, especially if Zoom was also involved. Like the time he and Cicero thought it was a good idea to sell lemonade with vodka to the kids. The parents had some strong words for the two, but Naruto managed to clear the charges. And that was just one thing he had to deal with. Next thing was his fangirls. He seriously needed to find a way to stop them from chasing him without using his powers. He was also, unsurprisingly, popular to the kunoichis of the villages. Under just 3 days, and already every ninja in the villages knows him. Even the clan heads would blush when they thought of him. It was really interesting to know about that fact. Usually most kunoichis wouldn't even care if any male was in danger unless he was a client, an objective, or a daimyo. But just by thinking of Naruto, all of them couldn't help but dream a little. In fact, the clan head of the Inuzuka clan, Sume, was sometimes seen being a little too friendly with him to the ire of her fellow clan heads. Then there was Kushina, the wife of the Hokage. He could still remember the day he met the woman. She was by all means a beautiful and caring woman. Flashback. Naruto was grocery shopping in the local mall in Konoha. Apparently they ran out of food. Considering you place 6 grown men in a house, you're bound to go hungry in just a few days. In the meat section, Naruto was looking for some pork, beef, chicken and other meat products. As he was about to grab a rib, a hand collided with his. He turned to the owner of the hand and found a beautiful red-haired woman. He had to admit, she was on the top of the most beautiful older women he has ever seen, and he has seen a lot. She had curves on all the right places that was highlighted by her plain light blue dress that clung to her, her D-cup chest that unfortunately didn't show cleavage but still great, her violet eyes showed some comprehension. He didn't know why, but he felt like he should know her. Kushina on the other hand was doing all she can, from hugging him tight and cry on him. If she did that, she could as well scare him away from her. She looked at him with suppressed emotions she had all bottled away since she had to unwillingly and painfully let him go. It was even more painful when he disappeared a decade ago. She didn't know how or why he disappeared, but now he was in front of her. Oh, she knew this was him. She knew it in her heart and maternal instincts, and by God no one is going to take him away from her. "Oh hello, sorry, were you going to take this?" she asked as she looked at the young man. She had to admit, her son filled out quite well and he looked to be quite the young man, especially with those outlandish clothes he wears. She had to mentally shake her head. What was she thinking? He was her son, she shouldn't be thinking like that. But then again, her 2 daughters always kept talking about him. "Oh sorry, if you were going to take it please do," he said politely. "Oh no, you take it," she offered. Naruto laughed it off and took the meat. "Sorry, it's hard to feed myself and my friends. I like to say appetite is big, but all of us together we could start world hunger," he joked. Kushina giggled at that. Naruto found her voice angelic and soothing. "So you must be Naruto, my daughters wouldn't stop talking about you," she smiled. Naruto blushed. He never really gotten used to being the talk of the town. "I don't know what's so special about me. I mean, come on, I'm just a guy living his life to the fullest, and a threat to the world before it becomes too big like last time," he added mentally. Kushina just smiled and ruffled his hair, which was kind of hard considering he was taller than her. Naruto complained about his hair being ruined. I can tell you're very special, Naruto-kun. You have something within you that just brings people close to you. Kushina smiled as she grabbed another piece of meat and then pushed her cart a bit. Everyone in this world is special, Naruto-kun. All you need is to believe in it, she said before surprisingly hugging him. She then lifted her head to his ear. Trust me. You're very special. She then let go of a shocked Naruto who had a blush on his face and his mouth open. Kushina giggled at his dumbstruck face. Before leaving him standing there like a dummy. Naruto didn't know what to think. An older, but very beautiful, woman just hugged him in public. He could still feel her chest on him, and now looking at her retreating form he couldn't help but look at her well-firm rear before she made a turn and out of his sight. If one were to look at Kushina now, they could see a tear of joy falling from her eyes sliding to her cheeks with a very happy smile on her face as she saw her son was okay after all these years after her family suffered 2 major accidents. Naruto, finally out of his shock, couldn't help but smile and move on. The smile never left him as he continued his shopping while Kushina looked at him one final time. End of flashback. Now we find our hero in his room of his new house. Right now he was packing a few things in his guitar case because he was going somewhere. Are you sure you don't want us to go with you? After all, you might still hunted there. Warlick entered his room. I'm sure. Besides, I got Milt for company, he said as he took out his marionette. I need to go there, Warlick. I need to monitor everything to make sure I know where he is and make him pay for everything he has done. Naruto clenched his fist as he hauled his case. Naruto, do not let vengeance cloud your mind. I know he has brought you pain, but do not be so quick in acting. It is the reason why so many suffered back then, Warlick advised him. Naruto calmed down before grabbing Milt by the back. Warlick'll be back. The ninjas are coming here to take care of the house. Make they don't find out anything, and please warn about keeping an eye on Cicero and Zoom, he said before going out of his and down the stairs to see Cicero and Zoom playing with their instruments. Artix was sleeping in the couch, and Rolet was drinking some morning coffee at the table. He clapped his hand to earn everyone's attention and woke up Artix. Everyone, I am going to leave now for Kiri. I'll be back in a week. The assigned teams to watch over you guys, specifically you two, he pointed at Cicero and Zoom, who whistled innocently, are coming any moment. Please be respectful, and whatever happens, make sure they don't know anything, the last part he said with utmost seriousness. The others nodded at the last command and they heard a knock on the door. Naruto ran to it and opened the door to find all the rookie teams plus their senseis. Naruto looked a little shocked at how many there were. I was just asking for some to watch my house and Cicero and Zoom, he asked confused. Then one Junin sensei came forward. She wore a Konoha vest that was halfway due to her D-cup chest under her black long-sleeve shirt, and it showed a lot of cleavage. She had black pants with tape just above the ankles and sandals. She had gravity-defying silver hair, and the Konoha headband covering her left eye. To complete her mystery was that she wore a mask hiding almost all of her face. I'm sorry, but after the detail you gave to Hokage-sama about watching over your friend over there, she has requested more teams because we don't another incident like last week. She finished with a smile, or at least he thought was a smile. Yeah, that would be a good reason, but still I think this is a little overkill, he admitted, though in a small part of his mind agreed, knowing all too well what kind of damage Cicero can do, and if Zoom got involved he shuddered at the thought. Alright, I'll leave Cicero to your care. Be sure to always watch over him as he is very crazy. Do not give him anything that has chemicals on it, not even candy, because he'll either eat it and go on a sugar high or by some twisted way turn it into a bomb, he warned. Before leaving the gates, he knew he had to hurry because where he was going, he was practically putting an elephant-sized target on his back. He was going to the place where he was almost captured, Kiri. 2 days later, Naruto reached the border of water country. He took a deep, calming breath. He had a feeling of dread in him. On his left hand was his faithful doll Miltonius. You ready, Milt? Yes, master. Let's hurry before we get spotted. Naruto then disappeared in a black flash, surprising the ones who were following him. Who were following him, you ask? A team from Kumo, judging by their headbands, were all shocked at seeing their target disappear in a black flash. Now how was it that they were following him? Well, after an easy C-rank escort mission, the team was about ready to go home, but they spotted a very familiar blue outlandish jacket. The team knew all too well who owns that jacket. And sure enough, when they saw who was wearing the jacket, they felt their heart skip a beat. They spotted him, and now this was going to be crucial. The Raikage had ordered anyone who spotted Naruto to capture and or persuade him to join Kumo. This was given to all kunoichis in Kumo, and now today could be their lucky day. The team consisted of 4 members. One was a woman who had long, straight, blonde hair bound with taut bandages and dark eyes. She wore a short-sleeved black and purple blouse that highlighted her curves and D-cup bust and black pants, both of which had a design similar to clouds on them, purple fingerless gloves and a chain of blue beads wound around her left hand. She also wore the standard Kumo headband, sandals and kunai holster which was strapped to her right thigh. She also wore bandages around her arms and legs as well as a red belt around her waist. This woman was Ni Yugito, Jinchuriki of Matabi, or better known as the Nibi. Another was a fair-skinned woman of tall stature who wears a stoic, aloof expression on her face. She has blue eyes and straight, blonde hair framing her face cut in an asymmetrical bob style with the front bangs reaching her shoulders. She wears a very low-cut outfit which displays her D-cups with sizable cleavage, with mesh armor underneath, a short skirt and red handguards, high boots, and what appears to be a modified Kumogakure flak jacket that covers her stomach only, similar to a girdle. She also has a tanto strapped horizontally to her lower back. This woman was Samui Ni, Yugito's cousin. The third member was a dark-skinned kunoichi with long red hair and amber eyes. She is rather flat-chested compared to the two. She wears a long, short-sleeved dress with frilly edges complete with the Kumogakure flak jacket, 2 simple yellow earrings, fishnet stockings, thigh-high boots with white soles and a headband which she wears like a bandana. She also carries a long sword on her back. Her name is Karui, a rather fiery girl much like her hair. The last member was a young, dark-skinned Kumo nin with short white hair that reached her shoulders and dark eyes accentuated with lines curving upwards from the corners. She wears a dark outfit consisting of an overlong shirt with a hood, with red bandage handguards, Kumogakure shin guards, and a black headband. She has a lollipop in her mouth that almost fell due to her mouth being open from shock. Her name is Harui, and she is one paranoid chick. Wow, that was cool, Samui complimented with a smile in her usually stoic face. Well girls, today is our lucky day. Now let's go get him and bring him to our side. Yugito purred at the thought of bringing back Naruto to her village after a little persuasion. A shiver of excitement crawled up her spine as the others also had. So pretty boy is a little lost. Well, let's be helpful, shall we ladies? Karui amorously suggested before all 4 disappeared. Naruto ran at full speed, which was equivalent to a Junin speed, surprising his chasers, in which only one could keep up though her teammates let her go and they'll catch up, as he ran and jumped through trees like a real ninja of today. He kept up his pace as he trekked through. But he stopped seeing a rather decimated part of the forest around Kiri. Whoa, he admonished. The place looked like a tornado went through it. Trees were either uprooted, snapped like twigs, or what appeared to be burned to a crisp. There were huge holes on the ground that were shaped like a. Are these prints from sort of animal? A big one at that. He examined one of the prints of the animal. Naruto released a haze of blue mist from his body, shocking his pursuer. Then the blue mist started to form into distinct shapes. Then they started to take in a humanoid form. This was a special technique Naruto made. With it, he could use his mana to replay events that weren't that old. The mana would trace energy that was left in an area, then forms whatever was the source of the energy was, be it a beast, human, or something different. Then they would replay the events that occurred like a video, only all the people are blue human outlines. This also caused a problem for him. Since the mana he used didn't even dented his reserves, it was still a lot and easily traceable. The figures then started to move. All but one were moving fast against the smallest one. They were all working against the lone figure, and it looked like the loner was desperate. The others were becoming more rabid in their assault. Many got a hit on the target, but still it was fighting back. The loner started to go down, but all of a sudden it stopped. The mana dispersed for some reason, and all of it happened on the spot of the first print. Damn, was all he could say. He then followed the tracks towards a very huge lake. Even around the lake, destruction was everywhere. He could really tell the battle was gruesome and bound to have some spilled. But he had an objective to do. He'll find out what happened later or just flat out forget about it. So he dropped his stuff gently on the ground and set Milt sitting on the ground, then started to fold his left sleeves to an inch above the elbow. When his forearm was exposed, it was covered by a black forearm cover. Yugito was watching this and wondered what he was doing. Soon she was joined by her team, who finally caught up but were slightly exhausted from the running. They were panting a little, but Yugito silenced them and they all turned their attention to Naruto. To their shock, the cover on Naruto's arm was glowing a vibrant blue before it started to transform. After the light faded, the cover turned to a big black gauntlet around Naruto's arm. It looked heavy and metallic, not to mention very bulky. Just to save your time, it's a Technomancer gauntlet from Dragon Fable, only black instead of brown. Arguably one of the most powerful classes in that game. They all could not believe it. Dione and C were telling the truth. Yugito then felt her tenant shaking. It can't be. There is no way this boy has it. That art has been dead for millenniums. How is it he knows it? Matatbi, or better known as Nibi, was shocked. Mata-chan, what do you mean? She asked her tenant mentally. That boy. He has power. Power that is even older than Ka-chan. Wait, what do you mean by that? Matabi could no longer answer as Yugito then turned back her attention to Naruto, who was now doing something from the gauntlet. A rectangular metallic opening emerged from the gauntlet. Then a round object flew from the gauntlet. Naruto grabbed it with his other arm and slammed the thing underground. CET unit, activate, Naruto said before the rectangular piece was glowing on the front, showing it was a monitor. Naruto began looking at the readings his device was showing, then his eyes widened. No way. The reading are off the scale, he yelled. There is so much chaos magic, that either he was here or one of his minions, he said to himself. Master, be careful. If you are correct, they could still be here, Milt warned. Then Naruto felt a presence behind him. He found it too late as he now found himself surrounded by a dome of earth. Hey, what's going on? Who's out there? Naruto shouted from inside the dome. The dome itself was made by a young girl, who was at least a year younger than Naruto himself. She was wearing a blue tank top that was showing off her rather well-developed chest that was already a low D, brown shorts that reached only a quarter of her thighs showing her shapely legs, black sandals and a blue scarf. She had long red-orange hair and emerald eyes that had a seductive gleam in them. Well, look what I caught. A very handsome young man. Nate-chan would be so happy, she bubbly said with a smile on her face. Mai-sama, we must detain him immediately. Who know what he is capable of? Naruto heard a rather familiar voice. Wait a minute, that voice. Haku? Naruto inquired inside the dome. So you do know him, Haku-chan? Mai inquired. Haku blushed before another familiar voice made itself known. Yeah, so what of it, princess? Mai had a tick mark on her head. Wait, Saya? She heard Naruto say from the dome. Hello, Naruto-kun. It's good you remember me and Haku-chan. She rubbed it in Mai's face with a vicious smirk, causing Mai grit her teeth. Girls, please stop fighting, another familiar voice came out. Hasaki? Naruto yelled. Hello, Naruto-kun. Sorry, the circumstances isn't good right now, but I assure you, when we get back to Mist, we'll be very acquainted, she said with a sultry voice. No, please, let me go. You don't understand, Naruto begged. So we finally caught the brat, a rather vicious voice came out. Finally I can get my revenge on that boy. Amayuri came behind Hasaki. Ah, are you still mad about him kicking your ass? Hasaki taunted her. Amayuri was pissed at that but calmed herself down. Soon she'll get even, but for now they have to get the brat back to the village. The Kumo team was worried. Their target got captured, and the ones who captured him has 2 of the 7 swordsmen. They will fail if they go head-to-head with them. But then all of a sudden a beam of bright blue light shot out of the dome. It shocked everyone as the Kiri team jumped out of the way. As the beam disappeared, Naruto ran away from the dome with his stuff and Milt tied to his waist with his gauntlet still on. He kept running, not daring to look behind him. The Kiri team got out of their shock and chased our hero through the woods. Major Deja Vu, Naruto screamed as he ran from his pursuers. Come on, handsome, don't go running away from little old me. Mai shouted as she went through hand signs and shot a water bullet intending to knock Naruto out, but it missed. Naruto kept running, but he knew he had to slow them down. So his gauntlet started to transform. Photon bow, he shouted as his arm turned to a giant bow and 5 smaller beams fired towards his pursuers without looking who dodged it. They were shocked at this. Just what else was he capable of? Mana grenades, he shouted before his gauntlet fired 3 spheres at them. They knew what was going to happen, so they all scattered before a big explosion hit them. That stopped them for now. Naruto stopped running. That will shake them off, he said before his instincts told him to jump. He did so just before he spotted a woman in purple. He recognized this woman. Yugito-chan? He asked before dodging a kick to the head. Sorry Naruto-kun, but orders are orders. Not that I mind this one, she continued her assault in the hopes of knocking him out. Naruto kept dodging and blocking her strikes, but had to dodge a punch behind him as he saw Samui. Oh come on, he complained. Give up Naruto-kun. Don't make this harder than it already is, Samui said with a bit of concern in her voice. Naruto then blocked a kick to his head and dodged another. He found both Harui and Karui. Sorry Naruto-kun, but you're coming with us. Karui had a mean look in her eye that he didn't want to remember anytime soon. Harui had a sad look before bowing and unsheathed her sword. I am sorry too Naruto-kun. Please don't think lowly of me, she prepared herself. How could this possibly get worse? He soon regretted saying that because Kiri team then showed themselves and surrounded Naruto. He face-palmed himself. Why did I have to say that? He shouted, finding himself like a mouse in a field of cats. Naruto was running out of options. He did not want to hurt any of them, even just to escape. He had to find some way to escape. Then he remembered one way to get out of here, but he needed a distraction. Then he looked at Milt. Oh yeah, that will work. Zorbek, hold them off, he shouted before throwing Milt, who then started to move. Fear me humans, the ultimate form of Ebel. Zorbek shouted as he landed in front of Naruto, scaring the others. Now they knew why he didn't look crazy talking to that thing. It was alive. Zorbek, as he was now known, formed 2 blue flame orbs in his wooden hands. He threw one to Kiri team and the other to the Kumo team. He then had 2 knife-sized blades in his hands and flew towards the Kiri team. He slashed rather wildly while laughing. Finally he could move, and he felt so alive. He grew stronger after eons have passed. Now he wanted to fight these humans for his new master. Naruto on the other hand had his hands in a praying position with his eyes closed. The Kumo team saw this and tried to take advantage, only to have Zorbek block them. You want my master, go through me first, he shouted before going head-on. Yugito grew her nails to claws and fought the scary doll. Her team helped her out, only to find that the doll was stronger than it looked. Zorbek looked behind to find the mist team was closing on Naruto. He threw a ball of blue fire at them to get them away. He went to a frenzy as he fought both teams to get them from Naruto. Even though he didn't have flesh or organs, Zorbek knew he can't keep this up for long. His master has to hurry or risk capture. But then a blue light came from Naruto as he raised his arm, pointing his open palms at both sides. Soul weaving. Enslave, he shouted as blue chains shot out of his hands. The chains were moving fast around him before it ensnared everyone save for Zorbek. He was breathing heavy as he found himself exhausted. Maybe I should have turned off the seal, he pondered as Zorbek returned to his side. Kid, we better get out of here, he shouted. Naruto nodded. Using the last of his energy, he opened a rift, shocking all of his pursuer. He and Zorbek jumped in and disappeared. The chains on the Kumo team broke up first, and got out of there knowing their secondary objective was a failure, and left because they were trespassing in foreign ground. Well, that was interesting, Harui said as they ran out. We may have failed, but this new information we have could help us. Now Naruto even more desirable, Yugito purred at the end. Her tenant couldn't help but agree with her, though a part of the beast's mind was still pondering. The power the boy used. It was very familiar, but she couldn't put her paw on it. Naruto was cool and all, but this just proves he's not an easy target as first thought, Samui added as her team hurried out of water country. We must report this to Raikage-sama. She'll want to know this. Her team then sped even more towards home. The Kiri team, however, damn it, he escaped me again. Next I will not stop until he is mine. Amayuri shouted as electricity coursed out of her. Well, that man certainly is unique. I cannot wait to meet him again. Mai shivered at excitement. Haku and Saya were looking at each other, as if talking telepathically to each other, and nodded. Hasaki just smiled. That boy was certainly interesting. Now they just have to report this. Outside of Kiri, a rift came out and jumped out Naruto and Zorbek, with the latter breathing very heavily. Naruto had used the last of his limited mana and was exhausted. I think I should have removed the seal. That was just too close of a call, he breathed. At least you did what you came here for, Zorbik tried to comfort him. Yeah, and now I can monitor this place without being here. Now he's got nowhere to hide around here if the readings are true. Naruto then stopped breathing hard before he picked up Zorbik and headed back to Konoha. He did not know just how much this event changed everything. Kumo 1 day later. The Kumo team was reporting everything to A. The Rikage's eye widened at what they have said. So Naruto is more powerful than we thought. Luckily our spies have just told us that he lives currently in Konoha. It appears he is trying to hide, A said as she rubbed her chin and thought. A-sama, what is your next command? Yugito asked. Nothing as of yet. You three on the other hand, get ready for the Chunin exams. We will move to Konoha a week before the event to find out more. We cannot let him escape us again, she said with big resolve. She really wanted him to stay in Kumo. Hi Raikage-sama. Team Samui saluted before the four went outside the office, leaving a wondering A. Kiri at the same time. So you five spotted Naruto-kun just where we had to fight Yahira. And he used some sort of machine in his arm that held some power we have yet seen? Mei asked. It was just a few days before they finally defeated and ended Yashira's tyranny and she became the new Mizukage. Yashira currently was in the hospital under a coma with heavy guards. They were currently under the stage of fixing Mist and recruiting back those who deserted Mist because of Yashira's rule. They were lucky they found the wayward clans they used to have along with Hisaki and company. The reason they won was because of chance. Yashira had set out everyone in her force to go out and hunt Naruto down. Everybody including those that were supposed to guard her had left for the hunt. Her obsession for the boy turned to be her downfall as she left herself alone with no help, in which the rebels did not hesitate to take advantage of. Mei knew that they would never get another shot like this, so she ordered everyone to strike when she was open. It wasn't to say it was easy. Yashira, even without her beast, was still a hard one to beat. They still lost a lot because of this one last ditch for victory, but it was worth it. When the force returned, most of them surrendered because they did not want anything to do with Yashira's cruel ruling. They pledged loyalty to Mei if she changed the way the village viewed bloodlines. In fact, some of them had bloodlines but hid it because they did not want to die. Those that were loyal to Yashira were either imprisoned or executed. Sorry Nei-chan, but he was trickier than expected, Mai said as she bowed her head in shame. Mei just smiled at her little sister. No need to. We can get him next time. For now just help in the repairs and find other people who ran away. We will need all the help we can get. That is our top priority. Especially if we are to attend the Chunin exam in Konoha, she ordered them out. She was left alone to think about this young man who apparently broke the norms of the land. She could not help but imagine herself getting more acquainted with him. She giggled at the thought of finally finding someone who she spent her life with. You know, you giving birth is supposed as secretive as possible and are supposed to avoid as much contact as possible. Bawako, the maternal wife of Hiriko Sarutobi, scolded Kushina who was giving birth. I know. Sorry, Kushina said with her usual grin. At any rate, I don't want to hear you screaming like crazy if your labor pains kick in. Got it. Later in the evening inside the cave she is to give birth in. Oh my god, it hurts. Kushina as she felt the pain of giving birth and could also feel the seal breaking. Is she alright? Minako asked worriedly. Bawako was about to reply but Tsunade beat her to the punch. Literally, she punched Minako in the back of his head whenever she feels she had her idiotic moments. Moron, she's giving birth and trying to keep the fox back. Of course she'd be in pain. Tsunade said as she focused back on retrieving the babies. Minako, next time you'll be the one here. Do you know how much pain you put me through? Kushina screamed at her. Then the first one came out. This one was a girl with red hair and she immediately began crying as she was out. Bawako had to carefully cut the umbilical cord and gave her to Tsunade. Giuna and Minako stood by the side watching and examining if the seal would break. Tsunade placed her in a special crib as she then had to go back to Kushina. Oh my god, please hurry up, Kushina screamed again. Don't worry Kushina, just 2 more, okay? Just keep pushing, Tsunade assured her as 2 minutes later another girl came out who also had red hair. After repeating the process before, Tsunade quickly placed her in another crib. After another 3 minutes, Kushina gave one final scream and push as the final baby came out to the world. This time this was a boy. But what was more interesting was that the boy had black hair with red tips. Tsunade could not help but frown sadly. In this world where women basically rule, men were very much almost insignificant. When a clan gives birth to a boy, he is either placed in an orphanage or be raised as a slave. It may sound cruel, but that's how it is. Minako and Giuna couldn't help but feel the same. Though Minako was also thinking on why the boy had some black in his hair. She knew Kushina would never cheat on her, but why? Bawako then did the same as before as Tsunade placed him in the crib. Kushina was breathing heavily and was completely exhausted. "Please let me see my babies," she begged as Tsunade and Bawako carried the three so the new mother would see them. Kushina smiled at seeing the new life she brought into the world. She didn't even care as one of them was a male. Minako kneeled beside her as she also looked at her new family. They couldn't help but smile at the sight. Giuna, Tsunade, and Bawako all could see how much they have now. "Ah, isn't this a touching sight?" a deep and menacing voice called out from nowhere. Their eyes widened as they then heard a thud. They saw Bawako with a huge stab wound on her chest. She was already dead and her face showed shock and surprise. Then they heard crying. What they saw terrified them. The being in question looked almost demonic. "Well, that's how I see Dracoth anyway, and since I know most of you know what he looks like, I will not describe him, and if you don't know, just Google him in AQW." He was also carrying the two baby girls in his huge clawed hands, with one threatening to kill them. "Ah, seeing life being born into the world warms my heart, and I hate it. The eyes of chaos does not approve of it." He then neared his claws even more to the babies, making them cry. "Move away from the woman, and I might spare their lives." Giuna, Minako, and Tsunade could not believe what was happening. How this creature bypassed the guards and the barrier around the cave. No one was even supposed to know where this place was. Minako then noticed the fox trying to escape with the seal still incomplete. She tried to do something but was stopped. "Don't even think about it. Do you not care for the life of these two? Perhaps you didn't hear me. Stay away from the woman and they don't suffer," he repeated. "Wait, just stay calm," Minako said. "Oh, I'm very calm," the monster replied as he threw both up in the air and was ready to stab them with his sword from his back. "No!" Kushina yelled in her concern and terror as the two cried, but Minako caught them just in time. "Giuna!" Tsunade screamed as Giuna created a Rasengan and rammed it in the chest of the monster. But to their shock and horror, the monster didn't even flinch. "Ha ha 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 ha. Was that your best shot?" The monster then backhanded her to the walls as Giuna almost fell into unconsciousness. Tsunade then charged and hit him with all she had, but the monster saw her and moved at a speed none of them could even see. Then he stood right next to Kushina and the boy. "When Plan A isn't up for use, Plan B is where it comes into play," he said as he saw Tsunade aim her fist at him again. This time he went away with both. "Kushina! Kushina!" Minako yelled. "Minako, calm down. We have to get the two to a safe place, then focus on getting Kushina and the boy," Tsunade told him. Minako breathed in and out as she tried to calm down. "Sensei, Tsunade-sama, hold on to me," she said as she used her Hiraishin to transport them to the second house Minako built for her and Kushina. She settled the two in their bed. "Okay, you stay here with your godmothers. I need to go save your mother. Don't worry, we won't let anything happen to them," Tsunade said as she watched Minako flicker away. At a clearing near the cave, Kushina was lying down next to her son as she saw the monster with his arm out. His hand was glowing purple as it seemed to affect her already weakened seal. Now the world shall tremble under the power of chaos. Inside the seal, the Nine Tails was trying to struggle. This energy that was being forced onto her was not friendly. It was almost familiar to her and she was scared for the first time in her life. This energy, it's not chakra but mana, she thought before she was then forced out of her seal. The beast then saw her jailer, her son, and the one who released her. The power of that monster, it wasn't good. She then tried to stomp on him only to feel something bad. Then she looked at her chest and found a giant eye with purple tentacles on it latching in on her. Then she felt her mind being blocked. "Insolent beast, you are no match for the power of chaos. Now be a good pet and kill your former jailer and her son," he ordered as Kyubi was about to do that had it not been for Minako. Mina, Ko? Minako nodded and smiled at her. Is the kid safe? Yeah, I took him to a safe location. Sensei and Tsunade-sama are watching them. Minako told her. Thank goodness. Kushina replied as Minako saw she was getting weaker. Listen Minako, that monster plans to attack the leaf with the Kyuubi. You have to stop him. Minako heard her then looked at the monster. Oh, not just that. I have a grander plan. He then laughed as he flew away, but not before leaving a message. Enjoy the destruction. Before he disappeared in the sky. Minako then flashed away with Kushina and her son just as the Kyuubi was going wild. Minako had returned with Kushina and the boy in her arms, and Tsunade and Giuna could tell from the looks of her as to what happened. Minako, why? Never mind that, she said as she laid her and the boy next to their two daughters. Stay here with them, she said as she watched Kushina struggling just to move her arms to hold their children. She managed to hold them and she started to show tears through her smile. Minako looked at her and could see she was slowly slipping away. She had promised to always protect her, and now here she is slowly dying before her. Tsunade and Giuna noticed the sad and anguished look on her face as they heard her pop her knuckles just by making a fist with them. As she went to get her kunai and Hokage jacket. Minako, thank you. Good luck. Minako, I'm coming with you, Giuna said. Minako knew she could not change her sensei's mind and accepted her help. Minako, leave Kushina to me. I may be able to help her. Tsunade whispered. Minato was surprised to hear it. Can you really? I can. You go protect the village. I'll get to work on Kushina. Tsunade said. Right. Minako said as she teleported with Giuna away, putting her trust in Tsunade. Alright Kushina, I need you to lay still for me, she said as Kushina slowly nodded. She began to use the jutsu she learned on her travels. The life restoration jutsu. Kushina felt her strength returning but kept hold on to the kids. Not wanting to let go cause they are put in danger after only just being born. In the meanwhile Minako and Giuna handled the situation with the fox attacking the village. Ninja art. Bringing down the house jutsu. A giant toad with twin katanas was on top of the fox as Giuna called it. Minako. Giuna. Minako and Jiraiya turned to see the third Hokage Hiriko Sarutobi calling them. How did this happen? No time to explain, Minako said as Hiriko grabbed onto them and used Hiraishin to transport themselves away from the village along with the fox. Minako, we need to seal the fox again, Kushina said, and she saw she was as good as new as she formed a barrier with her chakra chains to bound the beast. Beside her was Tsunade carrying the two girls with her. Don't worry, your students are protecting your son, she assured Minako. Minako knew all too well what they intended. It's too much chakra to seal. An 8-trigram seal would be effective, but I'd have to split the chakra in half. Minako explained. I'm low on chakra and I don't want to leave you and the kids, but this all I can. Minako was knocked out by Hiriko. You've done what you can, Minako. I know what you plan on doing, she said. What do you mean, you old hag? Giuna asked. Sarutobi explained Minako's plan to them and how instead of Minako she will be the one to do it. Kushina, I know this isn't what you want for you, and there's no denying they will have a hard life even with you and Minako watching over them. Do all you can to raise them right. And I heard that you have a boy. Let him live a happy life too. Kushina nodded as she cried at the old woman's words and was scared at what her own children will be facing in the future. Giuna was preparing the key formula for the seal. Tsunade, be strong. We need you in this in case something happens. Tsunade nodded. The bound Kyuubi then felt her being split. The eye on her chest started to come off. She then felt her chakra being pulled into the two girls. As the sealing was over, everybody let a breath of relief. Well, that didn't go as I hoped. Then they saw the very monster who started all this. Oh well, chaos is unpredictable. The group knew that if a miracle doesn't show up, they were dead. Already exhausted, they don't stand a chance. But before he can make another move, another voice called out, that is enough, Draketh. Iedoa appeared in a flash, chronomancer style, as he stood before the group. So the puppet cut his strings. Draketh bemused as he saw his former Chaos Lord. Enough is enough, Draketh. I have seen the outcome of this, Iedoa threatened, to which Draketh laughed. Oh really? You may have forgotten that chaos is unpredictable. You should know that all too well, he taunted. Draketh then floated in the air. Time for me to leave. Know that this isn't the last time you'll see me. Kushina then opened her eyes. She found herself sleeping on the sofa in the living room. She had that nightmare again. Every time she had it, it almost felt real, like she was there all over again. She held her chest as she thought of that dreadful day. That monster was out there. She knew it. He'll be back. Though for what purpose, it was not good. Present 4 days later, Konoha, Naruto's home. Inside Naruto's house was pure pandemonium. Almost everything in there was almost destroyed. Tables, chairs, pictures, you name it. Right now in the middle of the destruction was a cage. Inside the cage were the people who were partly responsible for the destruction. Yes, you guessed it. Inside the cage were Cicero, Zoom, and Rolith, who the latter managed to somehow convince to join them. Around them were the people who were supposed to watch them. Apparently they didn't take Naruto's warning about keeping them in their sights, and now they paid the price dearly. It was only about 30 minutes after Naruto left and the teams were looking around the house, with Warlick watching to make sure they don't find anything. The task of watching over the crazy duo of Cicero and Zoom fell in the hands of Hinata Hyuga, Yakumo Kurama, and Kion Izuki, who were respectable enough to not prowl on private property, especially Naruto's. Unfortunately, the three of them were not experienced in dealing with people who are as crazy and crafty as Zoom and Cicero, who managed to use the usually peaceful Rolith as a distraction. And when I said distraction, I meant human battering ram. Yes, they just grabbed Rolith, who was sleeping in the couch, and used him to get past the trio who were guarding them. Now, without anyone watching them, the two took out their weapons for mass destruction. Namely, Cicero got a jury-rigged leaf blower that could fire air as strong as a B-ranked wind jutsu. Zoom got himself a bow and a bunch of arrows with different payloads ranging from shockers to stink bombs. By the time the others were back, it was already too late and Cicero and Zoom wreaked havoc on the house. With brutal force, snakes, dogs, bugs, swords, and few kicks to the balls, me cringing, Cicero and Zoom along with an innocent Rolith were put in a cage Anko summoned from out of nowhere. After the 4-day fiasco, the whole house was a wreck. What did Artix and Warlick do? Well, they decided not to get involved and let Naruto fix the place since he was rich. Currently they were sitting on the same sofa Rolith slept in before the carnage. Strangely, it was the only thing in one piece. The Kunoichi teams were all gasping for air due to the hectic and violent events that occurred. For a bunch of males, those two were very hard to stop. Now as they calmed down, they surveyed the area, or what was left of it. Naruto will have a heart attack. Uh-oh, Naomi said as she looked at destruction. Naruto-kun won't like this. Then all of them heard the door open. Dudes, I'm ba. What the fucking hell happened here? A very familiar voice yelled as they turned and found Naruto standing by the door gawking at what was the remains of his house. He looked at the war-torn place and he did the only reasonable thing. He dropped all he was carrying, which was Miltonius Zorbik in a mannequin and his guitar case, and promptly fainted. Naruto! A girl's voice called out and barely caught Naruto's body. The girl in question was by all means very beautiful. She wore a rather plain brown dress that still showed off her rather curvaceous body and well-developed chest for someone her age. If they had to guess, her chest was the same size as Hinata, who was the bustiest of the genins. Her long flowing white hair seemed to move with the wind as her oceanic blue eyes looked with great concern for the boy. Alright, I'll admit, I'm not good at making my OCs, so just think of her as the maiden with the eyes of blue from Yu-Gi-Oh! You know that awesome tuner monster card. Just check my profile, and oh yeah, I have a very good reason why I chose her. The genins and some of the senseis were rather jealous that this random hussy just showed up and got close to Naruto. The guys on the other hand were rather shocked. If she was here, then something must have happened. The only way for her to be there was if. Before they could ponder any further, she called out, "Warlick, please give me something to support his head," she pleaded, in which Warlick calmly walked to the two with a pillow he found lying around. He placed it beside her lap as she scooted Naruto's head to it. "What happened here, Warlick? It looks like a war zone here," she asked as she surveyed the ruins. "You can ask the two idiots in the cage." He pointed to the cage in which held said two idiots. She shook her head. When will those two ever stop giving Naruto headaches? She then stood up and finally noticed the Kunoichi teams. Who are you people?" she asked as they finally stopped wondering who she was. Anko decided to be the spokesperson for the group. "Hello there. We are the one assigned by Naruto-kun to watch over his house." Unfortunately, she chuckled rather nervously as she scratched her head. The girl then looked at the caged duo. "Yo, Nova, long time no see," Cicero cried out. Nova, as she was now known, shook her head at the two. Life seemed to have gotten more hectic for Naruto. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.